This is the X&C Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Mag, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, X&C Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox Newscast. Hi, how are you doing? It's episode 112, and I'm here with my co-host, Middle-Aged Game Guy. Welcome to the X&C Podcast. Mag, you've been out all weekend, hitting the beach,
I have.
getting some sun?
Yep. I have. I was up north in the wilds of northern Canada, so I'm going to be. That's usually my August routine, right? So my brother-in-law just bought a cottage up there, so I went to go hang out over there. And then there's another cottage like 5 doors down. I went to go hang out over there. It was sitting empty, so I took that one. Don't worry, it didn't belong to somebody else, and I broke in. It's actually It's actually been rented out, so we know. So I was there, and then I was back over the other side. We were doing some like tubing and water skiing and all kinds of cool stuff. It was awesome, man. And then not next week, but the week after, I'm going to be up there for another 2 weeks. So I'm going to be missing a couple shows because I'm going to actually be up there with the whole family and all that. So that's what I was doing. And then I'm actually going to throw this in there, gaming wise, which I just started just before the show. Is I just picked up the DLC for Callisto Protocol. By the way, controversial take for some. I thought Callisto Protocol was a better game than the Dead Space remake. That's my opinion. Dude, I didn't think it was very good. I thought Dead Space was just boring and redundant, and I was like, all right, it's all right. Callisto Protocol just seemed to have, to me, a better story, better graphics, heavier gameplay. When you smoked somebody with like a pipe, you felt it, man. It was awesome. Anyway,
yeah,
the
that
DLC
was good.
is. There's a DLC just came out, I think about a month ago, called Final Transmission. So I already paid for it. I didn't even realize I did. So I just playing through that right now, and I'm enjoying that. And then I'm also about 60% through the Alan Wake Remastered. And again, I mentioned that last week, is I want to get that done, and I want to get 100% completion on it before Alan Wake 2 comes out this Halloween. So yeah, so I'm all excited about that. So it's going to be a great fall lineup. Anyways, what have you been playing, Colt? What have you been doing?
Oh, man, it's crazy. I've been only playing one game, and it's so crazy. I think I talked about it last week on the show. I don't know how long this has been going on, but getting back into Fallout 76 has been crazy. I've been playing with Dante Moody, a good friend of mine, and Holly, another friend of mine that I hang out at FanFest. I've been playing the game with my son, meeting people online. Saw Phil Spencer last night playing with friends. We went up to him and emoted and said hi, and I messaged him and I said, I said, Phil, I didn't know that I would be playing this game again. And he says, yeah, it got good. So Bethesda's really turned that game around. It's got a 400% uptick in daily players concurrently right now. But funny enough, I don't know what the numbers are, but I think there's like 10 million people that have played the game. And it's doing really well. Like, people are really enjoying it. And there's videos on YouTube people are making. Apparently, it's made a splash with people. So, yeah, I would really... I'll just end this. I'm going to put some footage up that Mag and I are going to talk over some gameplay while we're just hanging out. But later on, there'll be some footage, a bunch of clips I recorded from Fallout 76. You can kind of see the game's really great. I'll just close it by saying this. If you really liked Fallout 4... you really should play it now. It's finally gotten better. It's way more NPCs, way more things than just little tiny robots you shoot. And I really, I think I almost like it more than Fallout 4 now, because the world is so much bigger and there's so much more to see. So anyway, that's what I've been playing. I'm sorry that it's a weird game that people might be, gross, Fallout 76, but it really is special, especially from a team. It's not the Bethesda Softworks Maryland team. It's the Bethesda Austin team that mostly put that together. And it took them 5 years, Mag, but I guess they finally got it.
Listen, we're both getting roasted in the chat. By the way, Applesauce Bandit, you have the coolest name next to Kung Fu Hot Dog. So you're up there. And then what's that other guy like? Uncle Chowder?
Uncle Chowder.
Love that name too.
Yeah.
I love that name. Anyways, we're both getting roasted. One, people are saying in the chat that Microsoft dropped the bag off at the door. That's why you're playing Fallout 76. And then, of course, the simp parade of people for Dead Space, led by the simp himself, Rand Al Scumbag Thor, is in the chat right now. He's riling up the rebels posts saying that Dead Space couldn't even hold, that Callisto Protocol couldn't hold the jockstrap of Dead Space. Let me tell you something, Rand. If you play, listen, if you play it on performance mode now, not when it first came out, because I waited a couple of months, right? You wait a couple of months to get the game. They fixed it, dude. They fixed the thing up. It runs amazingly well. Anyways, enough of that.
I didn't have a problem with the way it played so much. It wasn't that noticeable, but when I played Callisto Protocol first, right out the gate, and I think Dead Space came out like a month later or 2 weeks, whatever it was, and Dead Space is just really polished. But that was my first time experiencing Dead Space. I'd only played the first chapter. Yeah, I played the first chapter back on the 360 when it launched, and I was like, I'm scared, and I ditched it and moved on to something else. And then I really enjoyed it. I think both are great.
They're both great games. I'm just, I just prefer. I like the Callisto Protocol better than the remake, but that's just me. Again, I played them both. Now the Dead Space trilogy, I got 1,000 out of 1,000 on all 3 of them. So if anybody doubts my, my history with Dead Space, go ahead, Rand. I'm sure he did too, actually, because that's probably during the time he was going for his $1 million. So I would imagine he got the 1,000 on all those too. But anyways, all joking aside,
how do you enjoy a game when you are going for all those gamer points? Like that's got to be hard work.
It is hard work because I'm doing it now, but I'm not chasing like a goal. I just like to, as I said before, my new philosophy is I'm going to go to every game that I enjoy, and I'm going to get all 100% on all of them, whether it's on Xbox, whether I'm on PlayStation, and I'm going to do that because I want to squeeze every ounce out of that game. So anyways, enough of that nonsense. Colt, so what are you going to do with all the money that Microsoft dropped off at your door to play Fallout 76? What are you going to buy with it? Another guitar?
I'm glad you said that because today I just got my new controller that I bought with my own money. So it took me like 30 minutes to get this exactly how I think it should be, to be the Colteastwood brand colors. Okay.
Wow.
So the Elite Series 2 is such a nice quality controller. Hold on, I get this. It's going to be hard. You can't see the Colteastwood in gray, but it's at the bottom.
Ooh, no, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, these got it reversed here on my screen. Yeah, these controllers are so great. I even went ahead and put the white collars around the thumbsticks just to kind of. I worked with a bunch of different combinations to get like the right amount of color that I thought would work, and that I'm really happy with it. Just came in today, and it was $170 with the extra $10 script on the bottom, but. Yeah, I really like it a lot.
Yeah, that's really nice. I really like it. I'm glad that Greenberg paid and bought that for you. So, anyways,
that's perfect because Kung Fu Hot Dog left a super chat right before the show. And if you learn anything from XC Podcast, Mag and I like usernames that mix violence and food in the same word. So, thank you so much for the £5. He says, "Good morning from the UK, the sexiest man on YouTube." Oh. You shouldn't have. He says, "Colt, what did you and Aaron eat for breakfast that day?" Aaron didn't eat anything. And I don't know if you guys heard, but I had a $60 yogurt, orange juice, and blueberry muffin, and my wife had a hot cocoa and oatmeal. Like all of that was $60. And
sounds
I was
like California. Yeah,
it
sounds like California. No thanks. Yeah, no thanks. I'll save that for something else. Yeah, that's ridiculous, but that's California for you. So they're completely out of control down there.
Yeah, they're then Alex, we've got a couple questions here. If you can just put a tip here at the bottom. He also asks, Kung Fu asks, when are you going to invite Luke Riley on again? I don't know if you know who Luke Riley is. You should know if you are a gaming fan and a racing fan, but he is the resident expert racing reviewer from IGN. He's Australian. He's freaking hilarious. He's super talented. He knows everything from the camshaft to the little shark fin at the top that lets your radio work. He knows everything about cars, and he was on Ecstasy when we launched Forza Horizon 5, when that launched, and he was on the show with Gaz and I, and he was really fun, but I would love to maybe reach out to him for Forza Motorsport release.
I was about to say Forza Motorsport's coming out. Maybe send out a little feeler.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really good. And guys, if you don't know him, like if he was on the show, you'd have a great time. He's so fun. He's so jovial, very, very happy dude, and very funny. I loved having him on. I haven't really talked to him since. BT Maverick with his first super chat on the channel with a $20 blazing orange. He says, Yeah, the super chat works. Finally, Colt, tell me that Mag isn't the Tony Bruno of gaming.
Oh my God. Thank you.
People don't want you to be Mag. They always, you've got to be some
I'm somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm literally like 15 other personas. You ever see that movie Split where what's his face is like 20 different like personalities? He's like, he comes in as a woman, then he comes in as a dude, then he comes in as a shy guy, and then he comes in as a jock. I'm basically that guy, just not a villain. Well, maybe I'm a villain to some people. But yeah, so I basically like 15 to 20 different personalities based on what the chat says. By the way, when I said, what are you going to spend your money on, the Xbox money on? And of course in the chat, they're like, careful. So it said, careful, Colt's going to fire you like he did Gaz. That was for something entirely different.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it was for inappropriate contact and a whole bunch of other things. That
a lot of violent crime and inappropriate touching. So that was kind
of a mix. Yeah. Elbow
and,
drop me, and then
he was.
rub my earlobe.
I'm currently trying to get him disbarred as well. So he's he'll be working as a window washer in London very shortly. No longer as a lawyer. But anyways, that's a whole other story. That's part of my personal destruction of ruining his life, which Randall Thor is next in line once I'm done with Gaz.
Anyway, please tell me Rand is next. I got to read the rest of BT's before I forget. He says, in all seriousness, appreciate you guys, and the part of the reason why this community is strong as it is. Hold the line. And great super chat because, boy, I'm just kind of getting into the kick here for doing a podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, we're live. Sarah Bond just said we're now. What did she say? Advancing the line is what she said to King David the other day.
She did. Yeah. Yes, she did. Yes.
Yeah, she did. So I think I covered. Welcome to the show, by the way. We're here. We're going to talk about. I'll let you know what we're going to talk about. Then I'll read off the channel members and veteran Patreons and members that are supporting the channel. Thank you for being here. This is Ecstasy Podcast. It runs live on YouTube. You can check it out. And if you're checking it out after the fact on demand. But we're also audio only on Spotify, Apple, Google, which is just like a click away on your Zoom or your iPod. Does the kids still use those today? I don't know. iPod. Yeah, your iPod Shuffle.
I'm sorry. I'm getting
podcast on iPod Shuffle.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting distracted. Somebody in the chat, Percolator 9000, said he was a better chef than me, and that I got really distracted. But anyhow, yeah, I don't know. They use whatever works or whatever gets handed down to them. That's basically like both my kids. They're both under 10 years old and under, right? And guess what they have? They have my S20s, right? They have my S20 and my wife's S20.
Sorry, here's an Samsung S20.
Like, here's the Samsung S20. Just take it, get out of here, and then I get the 22, right? So that's what we always do. Every 2 years, I get a new phone. We just throw it to the kids. Like,
man, you really make them suffer, though, Mag. And make them earn their way through this world.
Yeah, I know. It's like take my table scraps, you swine.
My kid says, "I want a phone, Dad." I'm like, "Go mow the lawn," and then I know dang well he's not going to mow it, so I end up mowing it anyway.
No. I make them do chores. Like, I mean, they're not old enough to mow the lawn because they'll, I don't want them losing limbs and stuff. But and they're probably not big enough to push the damn thing. But anyways, I make them do other stuff. Like I make them vacuum and mop and like do the dish. Well, I try not to get them to do the dishes because they make more of a mess than they actually do the dishes. So vacuuming and mopping, I make them do that. That's it.
Isn't that the pinnacle of? I can't believe we're talking about parenting, but isn't that the pinnacle of parenting where you have to do it because it won't get done right, and so you're just like, you know what? It's more energy to tell you how to do it. That's being a bad father. I'm going to change my ways.
It's OCD stuff. That's what it is. It's like at work. Everybody's like, why do you work so damn hard? Like I'm like the hardest working man in the room. I easily could be doing nothing, but I'm like, because I want it done a certain way. And when you tell people 1,000 times, they still don't do it. So it doesn't matter. Anyways, let's talk about video games.
Let's talk about what we're going to talk about, so you know why you're here. And welcome to the show. We're going to talk about Forza, and then there's actually a Forza killer on the way at the end of the year. We're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about how Xbox is kind of cutting the legs under some of their marketing in more ways than one. We're also going to talk about how one of the biggest PlayStation sites and media sites is not happy with Spider-Man 2. Stick around for that. That's going to be excellent discussion. And we've got a couple podcasts that are kind of talking backwards about what they think is going on with Xbox. And, of course, we're going to talk about Square Enix and Kojima partnering with Xbox and how that affects people and what that actually means and what to expect from that. That'll be a good discussion. And we've got a couple other things we're going to get into. First of all, let me read these channel members and Patreons. We've got Mark Caldwell, KY Bob, Assassin Lupa, Jazzy Noop, Ricky Fallon, Jason Lewan, Mo Lee B, Lord Sin Eater, William Riggs, Farscape, Matt Houston, Chans Wolf, Zimic, William Lanza, Yodana Kizada, Suicide King, Assassin Lupa, Robert Jackson, Dante Moody, Betamax, Stark, CMS, Jazz, Zener White, Devario 2 Gaming, Reek Havoc, V Simcoe, Assassin, Poochie Dub, Hargy Shawnee, Raiden Blade, Acute Perspective, Risk It for the Biscuit, True 77, Micah Ford, Red Source, Attitude Deer, Pesky Krogan, Dave's Games, Pen Pineapple Pen, Trail Roberts, Mac Bound, Meat Puppet, Red Wolf, Alan Adeltry, Gamer by Choice, Jedi J Goalie, Rippin, Highlander 01, Techno Caveman, Fire 71, That Blue Number, Kung Fu Hot Dog. Holy smokes, thank you guys for all of your support. Uncle Chowder, Shooter 2853, new on the list, TextMade 3, VMac Man, Clipto 3, Kelvin Warburtron, and B Martin 001. Sorry, those are the 5 new people that are on the list that have been here for 9 months or longer. Okay, Mag, let's get in. Let me go to my overlay. Let's talk about, oh, thank goodness it's working. Okay, let's talk about Forza Motorsport is coming, and at Gamescom, they just announced today that they are allowing players at Gamescom in Germany to actually play Forza Motorsport. But first, a Forza Horizon clone that is called Crew Motorfest. Meg, have you heard of it? Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, but why? That's the question. Why? Why bother? Unless you've got a killer app that you know that just like there's no chance, man. I hate to say that because it sounds very defeatist, right? Because you always want to challenge the top, right? You always want to take on the champ. But in this case, this is this is like you weigh like, I don't know, like 110 pounds and you got nothing on you. You're like that, what is that Skinny Joe guy from Punch Out, and you're about to take on
Glass
Tyson.
Joe. Glass okay.
Joe, whatever. Okay, you're going to take a Skinny Joe. I couldn't remember his name. Okay, and you're taking on Mike Tyson and be like, God, just don't do it. You're going to get murdered. Like, as soon as you get in there, one punch, you're dead. It's over with. Like, come on. But I'll give him kudos for even trying. Okay, at least they're trying. At least they're trying something, because you know the thing is, at the end of the day, if you don't try, there's no way that you can surpass the best, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you're going to surpass the best. Maybe one day you can match it. This doesn't seem like it's going to be the one that's going to match it. You know, Ubisoft has done the same thing with what the hell was it called? The Crew, and then you had Motorstorm and all these other things that from the PlayStation side of things, and all these other games. And then of course there was Rockstar. You remember Rockstar? I'm really shocked that they haven't even tried to throw their hat back in the ring with Midnight Club.
Yeah,
because Midnight Club was dope, man. I mean, I thought, and you got Rockstar behind it. I mean, that's pretty serious. That would be to me, that's the only contender. Would be if Rockstar decided to like throw some serious money and say, you know what, we're bringing back Midnight Club from the dead and we're going in hard. We're going in $150 million, $200 million budget. Let's go hard. That's the only chance anybody has at touching Forza. Until then, you're just wasting your time.
That's funny because Rockstar seems to ditch all of their beloved franchises, except for a couple of that like keep going. This gameplay you're looking at is my recording I took of the game. I got early access thanks to Doom Cutie, who sent me the closed beta demo link and was able to get me in. I was able to get in through Ubisoft, and I played it one night and didn't realize that the very next day it had expired, and so I only got one shot. And the opening 10-minute segment is coming up in this recording after a couple of these races, and it is really, really cool. Like, it is such a ripoff of Forza Horizon. And listening Mag get mad about how could you try, I have to say the visuals are really close to being like, hey, this looks really nice. But later on during the show, I will switch over to Forza Horizon 5 and I'll go, right. Oh yeah. So here's Forza Horizon 5 right now. If it keeps up with me talking with the orange buggy, and you could tell, oh, okay, that looks way nicer. But for the Crew Motorfest does look really nice, but it just can't keep up. And the feel is a little weird in the driving too, but I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool, but I don't want to talk about Crew Motorfest. I want to focus on Forza Motorsport because people are really concerned I thought we'd have some racing footage over while we talk about this, but people are really concerned about the visuals, and a couple of my friends said, and I agree with them, that they couldn't really tell the difference between a lot of the Forza 7 footage I showed on my video 2 weeks ago and the new Forza Motorsport. Meg, I don't know if you're not big into the sim type racers, but what's your opinion on the presentation and what we're seeing so far in Forza Motorsport coming this year?
Crap. Spider-Man looks amazing. It looks like crap. Forza Motorsport doesn't look any better than it did in 7. I'm like, guys, a lot of the times we're watching compressed footage, okay? We're watching compressed footage. Some of it is like 720p, whatever else. And I mean, I know that doesn't affect the actual visual quality, like in terms of the actual graphics or anything else. It's just the fidelity of how we're looking at it. But it does have some kind of an impact. Like, let's wait till the game comes out and let's see what happens first. So, I mean, we're talking, what is it now? First week of August, basically, right? So we got 1, 2, so we have almost, 3 months, basically?
Yeah,
okay.
I can't remember the date of the release date in September or in October. 10th?
I think it's late. I thought it was
20th?
Late October.
I
think it was
20th or something. Yeah, I don't remember.
Help us out in the chat, guys.
I live one release date at a time. I know that I'll have to split. I'll have to take some Starfield time away, even though I love Forza Motorsport. But one of the gripes, Mag, was in cockpit view. Are you seeing it?
No, apparently the chat's saying that I was muted, but I'm not. I'm totally not muted. They're saying that the sound was gone. Can anybody? No, it says I'm back now.
Oh,
yeah, no. I never even touched anything. Look, Ma, no hands.
Oh,
I podcasting. No.
I know what it was. It was probably when my earbud died and I switched it.
Oh,
yeah, that's never happened on the show in 100 some episodes. But I wonder how long you were gone, because I think they did catch you talking about how fanboys are going to say Forza looks mid, then the other ones say Spider-Man looks mid. That might have been one of the sections they lost, but.
Let's wait. Yeah, all I was trying to say was, and by the way, just for the record, guys, I know some people in the chat were getting a little excited there. I wasn't saying the other racing games are bad. I'm just saying they're not as good or as polished. Like, for example, I like that last Need for Speed that came out. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I can't remember what the hell it was called. Need for Speed, whatever. Unbound.
Yeah.
That's it. Unbound.
I didn't like it.
Fun. But... It was, I just to fart around for a couple hours. It wasn't a big deal, but I was like, all right, this is kind of cute. But it wasn't anything to write home about. But like the other games, like they're all right. Like, I mean, obviously we can go back in history. There are great games. Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2, some of the best out there, right? They were incredible games. But like now, Forza's taking it to a whole nother level. And I mean, they are now become like, no pun intended, a Forza machine over there. And they're cranking out quality.
A Forza to be reckoned with.
Yeah, baby.
Forza to be reckoned with, yeah.
There we go. There's Colt with that one. Sorry, I had to bring that in there.
Oh my! I thought that's what you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna make that pun, and then I'm like, well,
I did not. But anyways, the thing is, let's wait to see when the game comes out. The game is coming out in Game Pass. So anybody in this chat, if you got Game Pass, you're gonna, or you know what I mean, load it up or wait for the reviews. The reviews are gonna say something right away. And they're gonna say, hey, this looks incredible. This doesn't look right. Look, I have not seen a poor looking Forza game to date.
Sure,
and
of course.
The fact that what was it? Forza Motorsport 7 was on the last generation. The fact that this is coming out, and if I'm not mistaken, this is next gen only, right? They've dumped the Xbox One and stuff, so this is next gen only. If any studio besides what's it called? The guys who make Gears. The Coalition. The Coalition are masters of hardware, right? And they're masters of Unreal Engine and all that. So, anyways, the thing is, if anybody else can match them in terms of visual quality, besides Ninja Theory, is going to be Playground Games Turn 10, right? They're amazing. I mean, they do incredible stuff. So. I can't believe that people doubt it. It's like, this sounds like the same people that doubt James Cameron every time he releases a movie. It's like, every movie they're like, oh, James Cameron, he ain't going to make his money back. And I'm like, he did it 14 times in a row. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, guys. Like, just look at his history. He did it with a boat movie. Like, come on, man. Like, the guy doesn't miss. It's like, so this is the time James Cameron's going to fail? Oh, this time? Oh, is this the time that James Cameron's going to fail? I've been hearing that since the early 90s. So cut it out. The same thing with Forza. Forza looks mid. You know what? when it comes out and it blows everybody's face off, like, you know what I mean?
Will it? That's what I'm asking. Like,
it will.
I don't know.
Will.
I don't know if you answered the first question, but have you?
Sorry, I got excited.
Have you looked at the footage and thought it kind of looks like 7, but better? And I felt that way too, but.
Listen, Cole, we're looking at the same thing. It's a car driving on a track. So in our minds could amalgamate all these different visuals we had over the years, and it looks like the same thing.
Well,
I bet you if we put the two screens next to each other with an Xbox One, okay, even an Xbox One X, if you want to get all fancy schmancy, okay, and play Forza Motorsport 7 there, and then put a Series X on a different television right next to, I said television like an old man, a TV
on the boob tube.
right there, yeah. I brought in my horse and buggy. Anyways, so you put that on a Series X and you put it there. I would bet you, $1 million that your face is going to get blown off like Oppenheimer, like boom,
are you
it's
talking
over.
Are you talking about Forza Motorsport 7 and 7 on both consoles?
No, I mean the new one.
The new one, yeah. Okay, I like where you're going with that.
You know what I'm saying? I bet you, like I said, you put an Xbox One X, okay, and a TV, and put Forza 7 on one, and then put the new 2023 Forza Motorsport on another one with a Series X next to it. I would challenge anybody to tell me that's not wearing clown shoes and a rubber nose that tells me that one doesn't look better than the other. Give me a break. Come on. It's been 6 years. You think that they didn't improve the visual fidelity in 6 years, or the graphics?
Little flourishes, like I'm sure they've upgraded the little details of the cars, but they've also added that glowing light, which you're seeing in the Forza Horizon 5 footage. That in Forza Tech they have this glowing light, and then you'll see the little sunburst coming off of chrome or shiny hot spot on the car. So that's been added. That wasn't on 7, but. I mean, I broke down in that video how they have all this physics interaction that you can't see on YouTube. You can't feel that on a YouTube video. You have to play it to get that feel of the cars. But I would also say that if I was going to put on a really nice TV over here, I put Gran Turismo 7 and I put Forza Motorsport 2023 over here, you'd both look at both those and go, wow, I mean, how can they look any more realistic than that as a video game, right? I don't know.
Dude, you know what it is? You know the funny thing is, too? If you think about it, that last statement you made. By the way, I got so angry I took my hat off just for a couple of minutes, just to make, just to let everybody know I mean business. Anyways, the funny thing is when you see a game, you're like, oh, man, it can't get any better than that. Rewind the clock back to like the mid-'90s when we played Tomb Raider 1, where she had like polygon chest and like polygon arms and legs. And we're going, whoa, that's like real life. It can't get any better than that. And then you go back and look at a screenshot of it, and it's like you're like, huh, what the hell is it? And it's like a square polygon face with like eyeballs. It's terrifying. Anyways, it's gonna be amazing.
I'm gonna pause this footage here in a second, right here. I agree, Meg, because way back in 2000 or 98, when I was playing Gran Turismo and Gran Turismo 2, I was thinking, man, this looks like the real deal. And then while you were talking about that, I'm looking at this footage of Forza Horizon 5 in the same engine that's running in an open world game, and it looks better than any video game, any racing game ever. Like, it's better looking than Gran Turismo 7. It looks better than Forza Motorsport 7. So this is a high quality capture on the Xbox Series X. So I don't know what to tell you. I think Forza Motorsport 7 is going to look great, but there was one gripe I was trying to get in the beginning. When you're the in-cockpit view where you can see the hands and arms driving the steering wheel, they still haven't upgraded the animation, Mag. When you turn the car, this is what the character's hands do. He holds the wheel at a 90 when you're spinning the car all the way around. There's no hand-over-hand animation, so there's only 90 degrees, or I guess it'd be 180 degrees of rotation on the animated steering wheel in the game. And if you're playing on a steering wheel that you bought from a store, you get 900 degrees of turn in the steering wheel, but the freaking in-cockpit animation only does 180, which is, I don't know why they haven't fixed that, and I'm sure it's too late to fix that. Another problem is they do this thing like this when they paddle shift, or they reach down really quick, like they act like they're shifting. They've done the bare minimum of the in-cockpit view. Right. So I don't know. We've talked about Forza for quite a while here.
Sorry. I'm not laughing at you, by the way. I'm like once in a while, like while you're talking, obviously I'm listening and I'm engaging in the conversation. But once in a while, I glance at the second screen, look at the chat, and then I see something funny, and I just start laughing. Like Magnum Westward, he goes, Mag comes across as someone who yells at random people at the shopping mall.
Oh, for sure.
But the thing is, I'm not. I'm actually really, really quiet when I'm in public, unless I'm drunk or whatever, drinking them with friends. But even then, I'm still respectful. I'm actually not that kind of guy. I come across as fairly aggressive.
Do you yell at people when you're at like sporting events? Hey, hey, hey! Like that?
No, I'm really just do my own thing, and I talk to my own my own people that I'm sitting with, and we drinking, we're having a good time, we have a couple laughs. But yeah, no, I don't start any nonsense. And then at work too. I mean, at work I'm in charge, but I like to be a clown at work too, right? So I do a lot of like practical jokes on people and stuff like that, and have a good time and whatever else. And very rarely, and when I do get mad, the funny thing is in the real world, generally speaking, when I get mad, I get super quiet. So if I stop talking, it's game over. You're in my sights. And if you're in my sights when I stop talking, you're probably going to get fired. But that's me.
I can't look at people when I'm mad at them. I can't even look at them. Can't look at
them.
Oh,
no. I do the Walter White stare down, but I don't say a bloody word. I just let it happen. It's like my Homelander eyeballs are like melting through their through their soul. But anyways, that's besides that. We're done with Forza. What are we talking about next? Let's go.
Yeah, we'll just keep looking at racing footage for just a few minutes. But
cool.
Fire71 checks out the show after the fact on demand, which is, hey, that's how we've always done X&C. I've always put it on Spotify and Apple and Google and allowed people to check it out, with earbuds in and, But thank you. He says, Colt, Mag, you guys are the best. You make my Tuesdays at work the next day. Awesome. Sorry for being absent from the chat lately, but I haven't missed a replay. We appreciate you, Fires.
I thought he was. I thought he was from the future.
That's what I thought too.
You make my Tuesday. I'm like, what are you, the Flash? How did you do that? So you went ahead in time, and then you listen to our show, and then you go back. Listen, do me a favor. Go and get me the lottery numbers for tonight. Go in the future by one day. Get me the lottery numbers. Come back and then put it in the chat. Thank you.
Meg, I gotta ask, and I know normally if we're not talking about pizza, we're pretty much keeping it gaming, but I gotta ask.
Yes.
Are these aliens really landed in Earth, and the government is like grabbed,
I am
pieces
one.
of tech?
I am one. It's been me the whole time. I've been here the whole time. What do you think? I just appeared here one day? No, I came from up there. That's why I'm so bizarre. What's up, Noof? I see you.
I'm gonna ask the chat. I know we're talking about video games, but sometimes off-topic stuff can kind of help us get through some of the stuff we're talking about.
Listen, man, we don't know.
Well, I mean, these things.
Someone knows.
They're doing a hearing, and they're like, "Yes, we have. Yes, we've got biological samples. Yes, we've talked to people who have reported." So I'm going to write in the chat just for fun, then we'll move on. Did you always believe in aliens? And the meaning before, yes or no, did you always believe in aliens before there was any type of government hearing saying that this stuff was like legit, just for fun? And then I saw a clip of, this goes out to all you Gen Xers out there, a clip of Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 saying, "I was right." He yelled like in front of his concert audience, "I was right," because he wrote a song in 1999 called "Aliens Exist." He's been running like his own company to find out if they really are, and he's got a big smile on his face. Hey, he feels like Xbox fans when Square Enix like sidles up with Phil Spencer. Let's talk about our next topic. We've got let's skip that. It's not even fun. Oh, so there was a report that Xbox has sold about 21 million consoles. PlayStation turned around and said, "Hey, all right, we've sold 40 million PS5s." While Xbox is down 13% in hardware. I'm going to ask you, Mag, give me all the reasons why Xbox has sold 21 million.
As opposed to the 40? Well, I mean,
sure.
Okay, I was just going to say it's Xbox is always going to do well, and I think the thing is, they're not going to beat PlayStation when it comes to that, because I know people say Sony's a global brand. Xbox is a global brand too. It's just, it's more prevalent, obviously, in the Western countries, right? When you're talking about the UK, parts, not all, clearly, parts of Europe, Canada, United States, bits of Australia and South America. So a lot of those, like, you would consider, you know what I mean? Those seem to be the countries that The other ones, obviously, Sony's had their foothold in there for years, and even like lots of the other half of Europe basically is all PlayStation. I mean, their hardware sales were up 400% in Europe for that. You're never going to beat them in that way. And, even Phil said it himself, months ago when they had the whole controversy with the Redfall and blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, you're never going to beat them. You're never going to beat them toe-to-toe in a fight on console sales, on hardware sales. However, Microsoft has done something very interesting. Years ago, they went off-road. And by off-road, they said, you know what? Let's access these gamers in a different way that gets rid of that $500 to $700 paywall, and so that people will come into our ecosystem a lot easier, especially in those countries where they're hesitant to do so, right? So that was the brilliance of it. So in the end of the day, that's like, talking about 21 million consoles, it doesn't really make a difference. What really matters is how many people are engaged in the product, how many people are in Game Pass, how many people are online in one way or another, on PC, playing their games on PC, on Xbox, whatever. Right? And then eventually on phones, tablets, smart TVs, whatever else. That's what they're going for. And the reason why they're doing that, once again, you are not going to pound for pound outpunch Sony when it comes to hardware sales. You're never going to do it. You're never going to do it because there's a lot of countries in the world that will always do that. But at some point, Microsoft will most likely surpass them in engagement. Right? And again, it's because of the way, way cheaper and easier access to their product. It has been ramping up for years. They've been talking about it for years. It's finally coming to fruition. And then we're going to see it probably closer to the end of this generation. It's going to take a while. A lot of people think it's going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Even Phil said that. He goes, you think everybody's going to throw that, when Starfield comes out and it's a 10 out of 10? Or an 11 out of 10, I think that were his words. You think everybody's going to walk in and grab their giant PS5s and just be like, I'm returning this, sir, and then get a Series X for it? No, they're not going to.
I'm in an editorial about that because the rough math, Mag, is that the Xbox Series S and X are about 10% behind the Xbox One sales 3 years in, as they are in relative right now. Now, it's below the Xbox One, which is funky because from 2013 to 2016, everyone was told not to buy an Xbox One, like at stores and the media, and the general populace knew that it was rough, and for good reason. So Xbox is currently 10% behind the speed of sales as the Xbox One this far in. The PlayStation 5 is like 25% behind the PS4.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about how those first 3 years, PlayStation 4 didn't have a lot of amazing games, but I don't want to discount that PlayStation is such a popular, ubiquitous brand that you just go to gaming. So they've got that going because they have earned that market share, right? But
well, the thing
you also have to buy the console, Mag.
Well, that's the thing.
You have to. There's no other way.
That's what I was alluding to, Colt, is that the fact is that Xbox realized pound for pound they can't beat Sony in terms of console sales. But what they tried to do is they're like, okay, well, then we're going to access them a different way that's much cheaper. But on the PlayStation side, the only way you could play a PlayStation 5 game is by owning a PlayStation 5. Period. Just like you said, right? So the point is that Xbox, you no longer have to do any of that. You can use this right here, your cell phone. You can use the laptop. You can use a tablet. You can use whatever, right? And then that's going to even get easier and easier and easier over time as the technology improves, and of course as the reach improves, as they start to branch out even further into the world. It's going to be a much easier way to access, and that's the only way that they're going to be able to do it. So you know what? You can't beat them. You're not joining them. You're just going to go down a different road. So instead of going head on and trying to take them on, you're going down the same road, okay? But instead of trying to push one off the road, you just chose a different road. So now you got two companies going in the same direction, and the direction is making money. Right? And they're both going down that road. And of course they're going to give each other the finger every once in a while, flip the bird out the window, be like, yeah, take that, PlayStation. And then they're going to turn around and be like, take that, Xbox. And they'll be doing that. But at the end of the day, what are they doing? They're both making their way down that road to get to that end goal. And that end goal is money.
Making their way downtown.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. So, instead of trying to bump each other off the same road, they just went on a different one. So that's all there is to it. So it's a great strategy. It was a great strategy 5 years ago when they announced it and they talked about it, and or 6 years actually, and they had to do something. And I think like I said, it's not going to be immediate. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take to the end of this generation before you actually see the results, or the fruits of the labor of this, because it takes a long time. And the other thing is, I don't like the metric on the Xbox side of things. I don't like the metric of console sales, and the reason why, it's like almost measuring up game sales that are in for games that are coming in Game Pass. They're like, oh, Starfield only sold 4 million. And I'm like,
yeah, that's another thing I didn't think that.
But 25 million are playing it on Game Pass. So
right.
like, why are we using the sales metric for Xbox specifically if those games are in a subscription service? They did that with Forza Horizon 5. There are people scoffing at that it only sold like 2 million, 3 million, whatever it was. And they're like, oh, garbage.
You know how funny that is,
25 million people played it.
It's so funny because I'm gonna throw a what if in a moment here, but it's so funny you said that because Xbox doesn't require you to buy the console, and then if you're going to measure, all right, so it's about how many they sell. They also offer those games directly, immediately within Game Pass. We got numbers today this week that 70 to 80% of Game Pass customers are paying for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So they're paying the highest grade at $180 or $190 a year, whatever it is, the price hike. And they're making like $3 billion a year just from Game Pass customers. So for all we know, I mean, it kind of seems like it from the court documents that we got and the findings from Phil Spencer talking about the brand, is that they are making all of this money, and while they sit here and say, we can't compete with PlayStation because they have such a big, they're so big in the monopoly of the console market, but at the same time feels like, we're making a ton of money off of Game Pass, so who cares about their console sales numbers? We're making a ton of money. But here's the thing I wanted to ask you. Let's pretend. What's that? Let's pretend Starfield comes out. What?
Okay. I was going to say its accessibility is the number one thing that they have to worry about. That's all it is. It's accessibility and engagement. And that's the only way that they're going to be able to do that, right? And the only way that they're going to be able to compete in the future. Someone actually said something very interesting in the chat. I don't want to go down this road just because it'll go in a whole other conversation. But he said, if Game Pass didn't exist, would you buy half those games? And I would say probably not.
What, the first party games or the offerings that come to Game Pass?
Let's just take 2023 for example. I wouldn't. I would buy Starfield, right? I would buy Starfield. I would buy what's it called? Damn it, Senua's Saga. I would buy that. Like those kind of games like that.
About what, like the Game Pass games. That's kind of a hard question, because there's a bunch of different games that come to Game Pass. I wouldn't buy or play a lot of those because they put a ton of small games on there. But from first party studios, would I buy most of those games? I would have definitely bought Hi-Fi Rush. Redfall would have been a totally different story. The problem is I would have ended up buying it. I would have bought the game because I wouldn't have had it early to review it. So, yeah, I would have bought Redfall.
Fair.
And
fair enough.
What's next? Starfield? Absolutely. Forza Motorsport? Absolutely. What about last year? They didn't have any first-party games. But if I was able to pay for Grounded, yeah, you bet I would pay full price for that. So I don't know. Yes, whoever that was.
It's an interesting like thought. You know what I mean? Like just like, well, how would you do that? Like right now, currently, and I'm not missing it at the moment because, like I said, I got a nice backlog I'm getting through. I don't have Game Pass right now. I'm not paying for something I'm not using.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually wondering, like for example, Senua's Saga gets pushed into 2024, which it is, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. So now. Unless they have a bunch of other third-party big games in there, I might actually just not even get Game Pass this year and actually just buy Starfield at full price.
They certainly haven't announced any big games coming to Game Pass at all this year.
I might just buy Starfield outright.
Yeah.
Because if I'm only going to play Starfield, let's say, because, I mean, Forza Motorsport, I'll dibble-dabble, but I'm not going to pay, $100 Canadian to dibble-dabble on a game, right?
Yeah.
I'll spend $100 Canadian on a game like Starfield because if I know I'm going to put anywhere between 100 and like 100, 200 hours into a game, right? No, I'm not going to be mining ore with a laser cutter, but I mean, I'm going to be doing other cool stuff. Sure, right? But I would spend the money on
a little
that.
bit of iron. Sorry.
So like, if you do the math over here in Canada, it's out $20-something, right, for Game Pass Ultimate, right? So all of a sudden, let's say September, October, November, December. That's 4 months right there. You just paid for Starfield, and if I'm only playing Starfield during that, if I'm only playing Starfield in those 4 months. If I'm playing other third-party games like Alan Wake 2 and maybe Call of Duty, if it looks good, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Spider-Man, and of course Assassin's Creed, which looks hot, right? So I'm going to be playing those games. If I'm only going to get Starfield, then why even bother to do the Game Pass for 4 months? I'll just buy the game for $100. And so you're still getting my money. You still get my $100. I'm just doing it a different way. Right? So it's up to the consumer. But the good thing is that at least in this respect, Xbox gives you the option. Like, for example, if there are other gamers who consume more than I do, and let's say they're going to say, oh, well, I'm going to play Starfield, and I'm probably going to squeeze in 8 to 10 more games on Game Pass, well, then it's actually better for you to get Game Pass. Right? The point of this whole thing, not to upset people and be like, oh, Mag's being a fraud. No, I'm saying that because I'm showing everybody that at least Microsoft has given you an option that you can either buy it or subscribe to it. And that's an option that people can make for themselves, a decision they can make for themselves. Where on the other side of the fence, Sony's got one option: buy it or go home. That's it. That's your only option. You see what I'm saying? At least they're giving you an opportunity to choose how you want to consume. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of PlayStation, which we have to get into PlayStation here in a minute, but the Ratchet and Clank sales, Ratchet and Clank just dropped on Steam. It's been on there a week, and it's already has disappointing sales, which really speaks volumes, Mag, to how PlayStation needs to stop waiting 2 years to launch a game on PC when it just becomes an old game and nobody cares, and they're charging full price for it on Steam. Yeah, $70 for a 2020 game. No. And
great game though.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pay $70.
I like Ratchet and Clank, but yeah.
I'm not going to pay $70 for a 3-year-old game.
Yeah, so there was... No, I'm not either, unless it was like some Ultimate Edition that comes with all the DLC. But as you know, Ratchet and Clank's has no extended or multiplayer content or cooperative content. I don't know where that report is. I was talking about it on X on Twitter, and there were like 10 times more people on Steam this week playing Fallout 76 than there were playing the brand new released Ratchet and Clank on Steam. And it really speaks volumes to how they need to get those games available on the PC immediately.
I think, the thing is, they're scared. They're scared of disrupting the PlayStation console business. And it's kind of an archaic way of thinking when you think about it at the end of the day. Is like you're still making the money on the software, right?
Yeah.
But they're afraid. But they're so afraid because, you know what? A lot of the Sony corporation is completely dependent on the success of the PlayStation, because the other departments do okay. Sony Pictures does okay. They do all right. They make a profit. They turn a profit. I follow them. I've been watching what they're doing. Sony Animation does great. Like, for example, what's it called? The new Miles Morales movie did great.
Yeah.
Right? And so they turned a profit there. They're looking good. Obviously, things, because of the SAG strikes and all the others, and the writer's strike and everything else, everything's on hold right now. So the third part of that movie's on hold. It's gonna be delayed at least until 2024, maybe 2025. Anyways, the point is that they require the PlayStation success. They require the success of the PlayStation to keep the corporation running, and that is a fact, right? Yeah. So I think that there's this deep-rooted conservative fear of we can't mess up this balance of how we've been running this business for 30 years. Let's not mess around with it because it's going to cause a problem. Which is not really, like I said, it's not really like progressive enough. Like, I mean, you got to look at like the software sales is where it's at. Those the PC players, sure. There's a lot of PC players that have a PlayStation 5.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
And then of course, there's a lot of the PC players don't need an Xbox because they're playing the game on PC, right? Whether it's through PC Game Pass or whether it's through Steam. So they have the options there. But on the PlayStation side of things, yeah, some of them will get it, but they'll have a PS5. But the thing is, if there are people out there who don't have a PS5 and they only play on PC, You never had them as a customer to begin with. So what's the point of worrying about? You know what I'm saying?
What's more important, Mag?
Why don't they try it?
Answer this quickly before I move on to the next PlayStation topic. Pretend you're PlayStation for just a moment. You have to make a funny face too and put on a rainbow wig like you did in your video. Pretend you're PlayStation, Mag. Sure. Would you push for extra console sales by keeping Ratchet and Clank only to PC or PS5 at launch? Or would you throw it on PC day and date and see how many games you could sell everywhere to those two customer bases?
Pretend
like you're PlayStation and you have to make that choice right now. What would you do?
I would, specifically for Ratchet and Clank, I would put it on PC day and date with PS5. Specifically Ratchet and Clank.
Why? It doesn't have multiplayer. Like, you don't have to have all these people playing at the same time, but give us your reasoning.
But here's the reason why is because you're trying to expand the market, right? If you can get 5 million sales out of it, why not get 7 or 8 million? Because you can have at least 2 or 3 million people on Steam.
That.
Yeah,
he did.
2 or 3 million people. I know 2 or 3 million people on Steam that would pick it up on top of those PS5 players. Now, the other thing is though, if you're trying to boost PS5 sales specifically, like let's say they're trying to hit, there's other things that we're not privy to. Like for example, they have just like in my company, we have very specific targets that have to be reached every financial quarter, right? So for example, if Sony the corporation, not PlayStation division, Sony the corporation says we need 50 million console sales by the end of 2023, right? Yeah. That's part of their quota. They need to reach that quota. And that's what a lot of people, a lot of fans and a lot of us and people in podcasts and a lot of, gamers and stuff, they don't see that part of the business. They don't understand. They're like, oh, why are they doing this? There are other reasons. There are internal corporate reasons. Like I said, this is stuff I deal with every single day. We have to meet financial goals every quarter. So the thing is, if the Sony Corporation goes down to the PlayStation division and says you need to sell 50 million by the end of 2023 to keep the stockholders happy, and the stockholders to keep investing, then they've got to keep Spider-Man 2 exclusively on the PS5 because you're going to sell at least another 10 million consoles just for the PlayStation 5. However, once they hit that, I think that they should release the PC version directly after that instead of waiting 2 years or 3 years. So shorten the gap, meet your financial goals, and then put it on PC pretty damn soon after that. So for example, if they hit their quota, if they hit their financial quota and say, okay, Sony Corporation, okay, we've hit our 50 million goal for 2023. It's now November 20th. We've hit our goal. Let's launch let's launch Spider-Man 2 January 2nd, 2024. And you know what I mean? And let's get it going. We made our quota. We hit our quota. We've hit our sales numbers. We sold another 10 million consoles on top. Now release it.
Yeah.
Don't wait till 2026.
Well,
you know what I mean? It's
Meg,
stupid.
I think they want to get Ratchet games like that out a little sooner, like maybe in a year or maybe even as early as 6 months, because Jim Ryan said that the console's not enough. So they are doing the double dip or they're doing the wait and let us sail. But I don't blame them seeing the trajectory of PS5s, like continue to climb the sales speed of them, to not want to mess with that. Like, I don't want to screw this up by selling a game on PC immediately and then start to see like any type of downtick of PS5s. I got to read a couple super questions here. What's that?
The thing is, I was going to say one more thing. Magnum Westward, I saw what you said. He said we want to talk gaming, not financial dribble. I'm trying to educate the majority of people that don't know what they're talking about. So here's the thing.
Mag and I are trying to say that the release it on PC or console has nothing to do with appeasing what people want so that the other people can beat their chests and say, my console's so much better. It's really about accessibility and bringing games to people and making the most of those studios need to make their money back.
And they have to, at the end of the day, you have to answer to your stockholders. You have to answer to your investors. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. They think it's all about them. Oh, I need it over here because we want to play it here. They don't care who you are or what you're playing.
Haven't you been reading the forums? We've been saying,
they don't care about you. They care about that. As long as you're buying the stuff, they care about the investors and the stockholders who are providing them billions of dollars. They have to keep them happy first, and then you get the, quote, dribble off the end of the table. And that's what you get.
Yeah,
and that's how the real world works, kids.
Yeah, I think Ratchet and Clank sold 2 to 3 million. And I don't know what that equates to, how much they spent, but I'm sure it was a success. But they've got to try and eke that out on PC as well. David McClellan with a $5 says, Glass Joe is the first fighter. Mac was your character in Punch-Out. I didn't hear what you said, but I would have corrected you on the Mac, on Little Mac thing, because
I was screwing it all up in my head. Yeah, I love that. I love it.
It's been a long time, hasn't it? Jason
It's
Wan
one of my
has a
favorite Nintendo games.
What's that?
I was saying it's one of my favorite Nintendo games of all time is Punch-Out.
It is. I'm such a dork that when I was actually boxing in real life in junior high, boxing my friends, like I'd use some of the moves from the game, and they were like, "You're totally doing the Von Kaiser right now." I'm like, "I am? I didn't realize." Jason Wan has a member chat says, "Any thoughts on the Oblivion remake rumors?" Yes, I'm going to get that in just a moment. Poochie says 2-1 is better than 3-1. Look out, PlayStation. Xbox is slowly creeping. Yeah, they're not 3-1, and people said they were going to be 3-1 ahead of Xbox. And I think it's funny that they're in a full generation swing of you don't have to own an Xbox, and they're still doing okay. They need to be doing a lot better. Biff Rinaldi says, hot take, next generation of consoles should be all digital. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't bother me, but I feel bad for other people that like to collect their discs. He says, when's the last time PC games came out on CD-ROM? 10, 12 years ago. He says they're doing just fine, less clutter. I know, Biff, but we have to remember some people love to collect those cases. They line their bookshelves. Like, that's super important to them. But I think the physical media in Australia, they're even ditching DVDs. Like, it's crazy. Red Wolf with a $5 super says, sorry, I've been inactive and live on Xbox Live. He says 3 weddings, 1 save the date, and a YouTube video to edit. What kind of aliens in real life do you want? Do you want Greys or Turians? And if he means Turians from Mass Effect, I love that. Mag, what do the aliens really look like, do you think?
Well, they better look like some of the female aliens from Mass Effect with the nice zoom-in shots that they bet. By the way, that's something, I'm actually going to bring this up. Hold on a second. This is something I do want to talk about. I don't collect physical media because there's no point, really, for me. However, there is something to be said, and there's a movement out there, and it's been happening with DVDs, Blu-rays, and video games. The thing is, there's a lot of people out there for whatever, political reasons, activist reasons, blah, 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 blah. They can go ahead and change a game because some 0.1% of some group somewhere found it offensive, and they remove the original content and they change it. Mass Effect just happened to be in the video game world, and they did remove some butt shots from the game because
yeah, they did.
Because because Karen von Munchausen found it offensive in somewhere.
Mag, you can't say that in 1993. Karen,
you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm just making up names. Whatever names.
The butt shot that Mag is talking about is you're talking to Miranda, one of the main characters, and the camera is behind her rear end, but she's wearing her spacesuit. But it's like a gratuitous, like, hey, she has a rear end.
There. Yeah, it's right there.
I mean, it was 2010. We were all about, hey, look, this is funny. I don't know.
That's the original vision of the creators of the game. Who are we? 13 years later say, nope, take it out. That's we don't like that. Or I don't like that. So therefore you have to move. That's like going into an art gallery and saying, I find that person in that painting offensive. Paint over them and put a tree there. And then Bob Ross comes down from heaven and goes, I'm going to put a little tree over here. Just a little happy accident. And then paints over somebody because they found offensive. This is what, why you can argue for physical media. Because you can't change physical media.
All social, political, emotional discussion aside, Bob Ross could improve any painting that ever existed because he's amazing.
I love him.
How do we get on the Mass Effect? The aliens. Thanks a lot, Red. Thanks a lot, Red.
He brought up the Mass Effect thing, and that sparked my mind in saying, you know what, there is a movement out there, and they're not wrong, where they're a lot of them are collecting movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, and video games, and saying, we want to hang on to this because if someone wants to go back and change it, you can't. And they've done it with movies. They've done it right under our noses. They've taken certain phrases out, certain words, certain things. Even Steven Spielberg at one point, his company removed the guns from E.T. and changed them with digital flashlights because they thought it was too violent. They thought it was going to be.
They pulled stuff out of Disney movies like crazy.
Yeah,
that's a whole. That's a whole thing.
Right. But if it's creeping in, the reason why this came up in conversation, because digital, they can go back and change anything that they want now. And I'm like, well, that's if you want to see the original vision, you may not get it because someone somewhere, some point is gonna whatever, and all of a sudden they're gonna say, nope, remove this whole scene from the game or whatever.
But then you have directors that go back and rechange their vision for the worst. Like, I love Sylvester Stallone so much, and Rocky IV is probably my favorite Rocky movie of all time.
Right. He did do that.
And he butchered it when he did the director's recut a couple years ago. Like, I watched it going, this was terrible. I love the original.
He should have just left that one alone. Yeah, he went back and he changed it. Now it's called like Rocky versus Drago or something. It's not even called Rocky IV anymore. And I'm like, why? That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, it's not for the better. It's not for the better. But I don't know if that's why people keep... let us know in the chat why physical means something to you. And I would say that more than anything, I would venture to guess, controversially speaking, Mag, that it's not about keeping something the original way it was and being changed digitally. I think they probably love that physical case, being able to open it up and see that disc, and being able to have access to that if the internet's down or if something else happens. Like, they feel like a physical version it's set in stone. It's theirs. You can't take it away. You can't mar their access to it.
Look what happens when the internet goes down. Look what happens when the network goes down. Xbox Live goes down. The PlayStation Network goes down. You can't play any of your games.
Yeah.
You are literally
PlayStation's
a prisoner.
better at that, but if you're game sharing, like, it's all messed up. But
you know what I'm saying? That's a thing too.
But it's like this. It's like if there was a graph, like 95%, it's awesome, and then that 5% time when my internet goes down.
Of course.
But here's the best part.
I'm just saying I understand how they feel. It's not me. I'm just saying I understand how they feel when they bring up that argument. I'm saying, hey, man, I respect that. I don't collect any physical media anymore. I sold it all. I changed everything to digital, and I'm okay, whatever. I'm just saying there are people who say those things, and I respect their opinions. That's all.
Yes, thank you, Meg, because not to be like kumbaya, but we're all different. Like, Meg and I have easy access to internet, like high-speed internet. It's rarely ever down, and my last joke would be, if my internet's down, it's because my power's off, so I'm not playing anyway. And I'm fortunate to live in an area where that's where power and internet is pretty reliable. So we're trying to throw a bone to the physical people because we understand it. And my Starfield's going to have a physical copy disc case thing anyway, and I probably won't use those. So play it digital.
That's awesome. That's good.
All right, let me go to this next one, which is pretty spicy. But the only reason why I'm bringing up this DualShockers article, who is a big PlayStation media site, is because I am not even remotely as excited for Spider-Man 2 as I was for Spider-Man in 2018, and I was super excited. And I loved it. It was one of my favorite games that year. But I am so flaccid on this game. DualShockers wrote this article, Mag, and I'm going to read you a couple of the statements from it, and I'm going to let you riff off this because they're not happy with the reception for Spider-Man 2 thus far. And here's what they said. DualShocker says Spider-Man 2 looks like a movie I've already seen twice. The tired Spider-Man tropes coming from the past decade. Pete suddenly going all dark, and I mean that as symbiote takes him over. Whoa, isn't that something fresh and new and unexplored? And don't get me started, this is their quote from their article, on Spider-Man 2 being set in New York once again. I mean, it has to, DualShockers. He says, it's a bland and uninspiring final look for the game. And there's a whole article that's probably a good 4 to 5 minute read where they go in on the MCU. They go in on how the Spider-Verse took it to another level, the movies, but the game is just playing it safe. The same. He said all of the antagonists, the bosses, all look super bland and just really predictable and not inspired. And every time I see this game, I'm like, and I know it's going to come off as I'm busting the chops of Spider-Man because it's PlayStation, which that's your cognitive dissonance if you have that problem, because I just told you all the gripes I have about Forza Motorsport. It is good to be critical of something that you want to pay money for. Meg, I got to hear how you're feeling about. I feel like we've talked about this before. Run me over if you have to.
No. Spider-Man's coming to my house anyway because my son is obsessed with Spider-Man, Miles Morales, all of them. And he's played the first one multiple times. He's platinumed the. He's only 10 and he's already platinumed Miles Morales. Easier one to platinum, by the way, obviously. So yeah, he's done that. Obviously, Spider-Man 2 is coming to the house. He's getting it. I'm getting it. Again. This is one of those situations, like I brought up, 45 minutes ago, where people doubt James Cameron. You are doubting the only team that has produced hit after hit after hit after hit, but your dumbass has got something to say. And like, not you, Colt. I'm talking about these clowns.
I know. I'm not doubting it'll be super successful, but yeah,
it's Insomniac, and even if they even said, by the way, the other thing is they said, there's parts in New York, but a lot of it is in the boroughs that were not in the game. So they're changing the locations a little bit. So they've done that. We haven't seen anything outside of 2 trailers. For them to go on and on and on about this from 2 trailers. I don't care if it's Xbox. I don't care if it's PlayStation. I don't care if it's Nintendo. If you got time to write articles from 2 2-minute trailers or 4-minute trailers, whatever the hell it was, and a little bit of a gameplay demonstration, you're not seeing the product. You're not seeing the final product. You're seeing snippets. That's the same people that comment on an article and all they read was the headline. You know what I'm saying? You're getting not even half the picture. You're not even getting 1/25 of the picture. Let's get the whole picture, and then we could talk turkey. All right? You know what? We'll talk in November when everybody's played the game. When that happens, and that goes for Starfield, because the same thing, man, it swings both ways. I see people complaining and moaning and bitching about Starfield. Guys, the game hasn't come out. When it's in your hand and you've put in 10 hours, 20 hours, whatever you want to, and get a feel for it, then you could talk. Until then, and this goes for everybody, from every camp, don't talk until you play the damn thing. People complaining about movies based on a trailer. You could say that trailer didn't look good. You could say that, but you can't say the movie sucks because you didn't see the movie. You know, and a lot of YouTubers are guilty of that. I've caught a couple of them are big guys whom I know, and I've called them out. And I'm like, guys, dude, you didn't even see the Barbie movie, but you're complaining about the Barbie movie. Go see it first, and then complain about the Barbie. I understand that there's things in there that are not going to make people happy. That's fine, but don't complain about it until you sit down and watch it. You know,
people are coming out of the Indiana Jones movie with horrible reviews and saying, "Hey, I really like that," and I'm going, "That's pretty cool to hear."
It's cool. Some people like it, some people don't. But there's a lot of people that are complaining who are looking for attention and views and clicks, but haven't seen the movie.
Okay, I'm going to predict this, Mag.
I'm like, what?
I'm going to predict that Spider-Man 2 gets an 88 Open Critic or Metacritic.
I think so.
I'm predicting like an 88, maybe an 89. Insomniac is getting better and better. But their average is somewhere around 82 or 83, but they have Miles Morales is even higher than Spider-Man 1, I think. So I'm predicting an 88. Yeah, I think so. I think Miles Morales got to 89. And Spider-Man got like an 87 or something. Or 88.
Great story.
It doesn't matter.
I thought they were both great stories. But the thing is, Colt, someone else actually mentioned in the chat, I think it was a good idea. They probably should have taken, but the thing is, you got to understand, once again, we're talking business. So a lot of people are saying they should have brought Wolverine out first, given it a little bit of breathing space, and then bring out Spider-Man.
I said that, yeah.
However, once again, we got to understand that Sony is in full control of the Spider-Man name and the brand, right? They've got Disney on their knees because they own the Spider-Man name. They own Spider-Man. And so the thing is, they're riding high right now. They still have... You know, they're still riding high from like the Spider-Man movies, which were fantastic. No Way Home was a big, huge hit in the middle of right in the tail end of the pandemic. Miles Morales was a hit. 2018 was Spider-Man was a hit. The Miles Morales movies were both hits. The first one wasn't it didn't make as much money as the second one, but the second one's made a lot of money. You got to strike while the iron's hot. You don't want to wait 3 years and the Spider-Man hype is dead or dying.
Yeah, and I'm sure Insomniac said we can get Spider-Man 2 out in 2023 or 2022.
Right. In the midst of
yeah,
racing it up during the hype. You've got a Kraven the Hunter movie coming out. Whether it's good or not, it doesn't really matter. The point is it's still in the news. Kraven the Hunter movie's coming out. All these things are happening around this time. And so that you've got to, you got to move on it. Wolverine right now is essentially, in terms of cinema, is a dead IP, no pun intended, if you've seen Logan, right? And I know he's coming back.
They'll be working on the Wolverine movie the same time that Insomniac will be working on the game, right?
Wolverine got delayed at least a year because of SAG and because of the writer's strike, right? And they had to halt production completely, so it's completely shut down. So now it might be delayed an entire year. Boy, doesn't that work out perfectly for Insomniac that it buys them an extra year of development time that they can release the Wolverine game the same year that Deadpool 3 comes out. It's all business, baby. That's big numbers. And that's what they're banking on. I know it makes sense for us saying, yes, give it a break, go to Wolverine, then do Spider-Man 2, but it doesn't make sense for them when they got to ride the wave of the hype.
Well,
and then,
5 years is like right now, like in the next 5 years. That's all planned, like it's happening this week, right? In that business, like we've talked about how Disney and Marvel and all these they plan all these IPs and they dance them on the floor and kind of get them all coming out. And so yeah, I guess that's why I learned something today, because I would have said put out Wolverine to give us some breathing room, but I'm feeling that fatigue, and I guarantee most fans are not feeling the Spider-Man 2 fatigue, but DualShockers is not particularly excited.
They're just looking for attention. They're being silly.
So Starfield is going to be the biggest game this year in a lot of ways, and I think Spider-Man 2 will sell a lot of copies of the game, probably more than Starfield. But Starfield is going to be the big game that everyone's talking about.
But Colt, this is the metric we're talking about. We cannot measure apples to apples anymore because they don't exist anymore. We can't measure.
You can't outsell Spider-Man 2 when you have 20-some million people on Game Pass.
Exactly.
There's no way.
So, that's like how many. So you can't compare them anymore. That's a metric that doesn't work. It's the same as the consoles. The console sale comparison doesn't work anymore because a majority of those people are playing those games on PC.
I gotta interrupt you for a second. I gotta interrupt you. I mean, I've been interrupting you all night.
No.
If you're enjoying the show, I know Meg and I are struggling to try and get. I think we're doing a good job. If you're having a good time, like the like button is criminally low. We've got almost 925 people here watching the show. Thank you for being here. We've got even better news that we're going to get into. I kind of had to rant about Spider-Man 2. I wish I was more excited for it, but even with all of that Mag and I have said, please hit the like button. Please. Thank you. After all that we've said, it doesn't matter. Spider-Man comes out while I'm in the middle of Starfield and dabbling in Forza Motorsport when I don't feel like flying and shooting. I'll definitely be driving. So Spider-Man 2 couldn't come out at a worse time for me, unfortunately. So it's really hard for me to get excited about it. Let's talk about Xbox. The rest of the show is all about Xbox because they are, holy crap, this monopoly that we call Xbox is doomed and dying, but almost a monopoly. We heard today that Virtuos Games is working on 5 different projects. I didn't go back and look into what these guys have made, but they are apparently working on a huge project called Project Altar, and they're describing it as, describing it in the report, they're describing it as a remaster or a remake of Oblivion, and everyone's going, what? Why wouldn't they do Skyrim first? Why aren't they doing Morrowind? But Oblivion, which came out in 2009, I think, is something that Bethesda has allegedly, there's the word I'm looking for, allegedly in the works. Mag, I feel really bad, but Oblivion, I've never touched the game. I know hardly anything about it. Skyrim was my foray into Elder Scrolls.
Me too.
Okay. And I know chat, give me a hard time. I deserve it. I remember way back before Skyrim, my friend that I played games with all the time on the 360 said, I'm trying to get into Oblivion. It feels so clunky. And I said, you got to play Fallout 3. He's like, that looks really clunky because even those games when they released felt dated in their own way. But all I've ever heard from my other coworker is that Oblivion is incredibly amazing. I have not played it, but is this a remake? I would want to know. Like, we've seen the remasters, but I'll tell you this. It's probably going to release on PlayStation at day and date. I think it's one of those games where Phil says we're going to keep games that exist on the PlayStation platform. So I don't know. I don't want to talk too much, but this is going to be one of those things where Oblivion gets announced on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X, and people are going to go crazy saying, confirmed, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a multi-plat in 2027 or 2028. No. What do you think?
No, it's going to be exclusive to Xbox, Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah. And you know what the good thing is? The way you know how you get people into the ecosystem? Release an absolute banger of an Oblivion Elder Scrolls 4 remake, and get people's appetite wet and go, whoa, that game was hot. And then Elder Scrolls 6, oh, you enjoyed that? Well, Elder Scrolls 6, which is going to be even better than that, is only on the Xbox ecosystem. Not on the Xbox.
Is that how you do it in show business, Mag?
That's how you do it.
Give them a little taste?
Give them a little taste. You do the same thing in the drug business. You walk around, you hand out free drugs to the neighborhood, you get everybody hooked, and they all come back for you. Hey, that's how they do it.
You're talking about Flintstone vitamins, right?
Obviously. And you know what? The Wilma ones taste the best. It's that orange flavor. Excellent. I love that one. Anyways, the Barney ones are awful.
Do you have a memory of how those things tasted when you chew on them?
Yep, I love it. It's like chalk. It's a mixture of plastic and chalk. I loved it. I don't know why. And I almost want to get like a 25-year-old expired like a Flintstone vitamins and eat them like live on YouTube and see what happens to me. Anyways, here's the thing.
What's your eye pop up?
Yeah. I'm like, well, they seem to be fine, and then both my arms fall off. Here's the thing. I think an Oblivion 4 remake is great. The game came out in 2006, so it's been a long time. I do not want a remaster. Okay, I do not want a remaster. I'm not going to play an old game that's just been cleaned up a little bit, and then the guy still runs like a 2006 character. I don't want that. Yeah, I don't need that in my life. Give me an absolute remake, from the ground up remake, like Resident Evil does with their games, or Capcom does with the Resident Evil games. Do that, and get people interested in it. You're not going to do Skyrim. I know you mentioned Skyrim, but they've been releasing Skyrim up until like a month ago. You know what I mean? They keep re-releasing it. The director's cut, the this cut, the remaster cut, the 10-year anniversary cut, the this, the that. You know what I mean? And so, like, do the Oblivion. A lot of people in the chat are saying they're saying it's a great game. I never played it. I wasn't in RPGs in 2006. RPGs came a little bit later for me. Around 2008, I started getting it. Maybe 2009, I started getting RPGs, and now I adore them. But I wasn't up until that point. Because at that point, I was... You know what's crazy? Actually, during those times, I was a big-time racing fan. I loved racing games in those days. I played, I played your Tomb Raiders, your, Assassin's Creeds. I played Resident Evils and all that stuff. I love the action-adventure games, but I didn't really get into the RPG thing. And then, actually, funny enough, I think it was Mass Effect that got me into RPGs. And then I really started getting into it. Now I adore them. I love RPGs. So, anyways, the thing is, remake this game from the ground up, get people's appetites wet, get them into it, get them really excited, release it on the PlayStation 5, do the whole 9 yards, and then you announce, if you want to play Elder Scrolls 6, it's on the Xbox ecosystem, and you get everybody to go, let's go over there and play the game over there. You don't have to leave PlayStation, but at least you can subscribe to Game Pass somewhere else, and then get into it and play the game. It's a great strategy.
Meg, I'm seeing the chat, and they're like, no more remasters. Like, because we think of remasters as you just up-res, you brought the performance up, you made sure everything was clean and clear for the console, and you charge 60, 70, or 50, 40 bucks or whatever it's going to be. All right, I have to be very careful how I say this. I don't know anything about Oblivion other than what was like leaked by this report from the studio where they kind of leaked themselves. But I heard something else that's coming up that makes me believe that this is just a remaster. And I have to ask, why would you make a remaster of Oblivion when it runs with FPS boost in back and pat right now on Xbox?
Exactly.
Now,
and
you might do that because...
game.
Yes, you might do that because I love saying this. I don't know. I'm just a petty person sometimes. I love saying this. The PlayStation console is locked away from anything made before 2013 for the most part because they have zero backward compatibility with games you already paid for or owned. So if you own an Xbox One or an Xbox One family console or Xbox Series console, you have been able to play Oblivion at any time for the past 7 years or whatever it is. I'm just guessing on that number. Just back at bat. But now it's got FPS boost since the Series S and X came out. So for the past 2 or 3 years, you've been able to play that game with FPS boost. And I think that game also has a Hochi method, so it might run at 4K 60. I looked it up while Mag was talking. I don't know if it is. Let me know in the chat. So why in the are they making a remaster of a game that is already enhanced on Xbox, already available on PC, to run it however you want, just to sell some copies on PlayStation and hopefully bring people around for the free vitamins, Mag?
No, that's a stupid idea and it's a stupid strategy. You're not going to get anybody if it's already got an FPS boost, it's already up to 4K, but it's still a 17-year-old game. You're remastering a 17-year-old game. Well, it's 17 years, man. 2006, dude.
Was that when it came? I said 09. I was just guessing.
No, it's 2006.
2011 was Skyrim. 06.
So it's 17 years old. You can't remaster a 17-year-old game and package that up as new. It doesn't work. The mechanics do not translate into how 2023
So are you saying it's a remake?
You have to remake it from the ground up. Like I said, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4. Those games came out decades ago, and they're magnificent. I could go back right now and play those remakes and be like, but damn it, they look like they just came out today.
When has Bethesda ever done that, though, Mag? When have they taken They just put Quake. They just did a file save as 2 years ago and threw Quake onto Game. You had to buy it, I think. No, it came to Game Pass. They threw a file save as Quake on. That's being kind of rude because it wasn't. Anyway, it basically looks like it came out in 1997 or whatever.
Yep. Maybe this will be the first time.
Though?
Maybe this will be their first time doing it. Maybe they're coming around. Because in my opinion, I'm not playing a 17-year-old remastered game. I want a remake from the ground up. If you're going to waste my time with something of quality. I'm not saying that it's not of quality. I'm talking about in terms of 2023 quality. It just doesn't measure up anymore.
Yeah, and thankfully Bethesda Studios are not working on this remaster. It's oh my goodness. I want to say Virtuos Games. So they farmed it out. So Meg and I are really thinking it's got to be a remake. Like it has to be rebuilt from the ground up, but you have to be really careful when you well, no, maybe you don't. Mag makes a good point. Resident Evil 4 changed all the mechanics and modernized them, and people freaking love that remaster for Resident Evil 4 and 2
and 2. Yeah. 2 and 3 and 4 have been amazing.
But I just don't know. Like, are they really doing that, Mag?
Well, you just said it yourself. Why would they bother farming it out to a third-party company? Because you could just, if you're just going to remaster it and put a fresh coat of paint on it, because the performance is already there. If you're going to do that, why not just do that internally with like 5 people? 5 people can do that. You know what I mean? But if you're sending it out to a whole other studio, I mean, and like I said, the performance boost is already there. So we're talking about visual fidelity at this point. And if you're going to start messing around with the game mechanics, well, then you might as well just remake it because you're going to have to break the mold that made that game and then start over again. So you got to remake it. They're farming it out to this to a third party for a reason. Got to be a remake. And if it's not, I think that's a fatal mistake. I think it's a waste of time.
I 100% agree. Everything you just said, like I feel the same way. That's a big L if it's just a file save as. That's what I'm going to call them. I'm going to call these remasters, especially with enhancements you get to the console. File save as. Assassin, thank you so much for the $5. He says, all digital must never happen for consoles. He says, very rare sale deals, much harder to return games. You can't. Well, you can return digital, but yeah, it is harder. Digital downloads take more space, etc., so you can be lazy. Digital downloads... Yeah, I mean, don't all Xbox games have to be installed from the disc, and then the disc just becomes your... So, part of that, most of what you said is true there, Assassin, but I don't know, he says just so you can be lazy. I love not getting up and taking out a disc, putting the one back, you know, every time popping that disc out of the tray, I always thought, man, when is it going to split the middle? when I try to pull it out of that little claw. I always think, oh man, I don't know, whatever. I don't miss it. Mag,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Mag's all physical. It's behind him. It's
no. That's the physical that you're gonna see in my house. Yeah, not discs anymore. I used to have literally like shelf after shelf with thousands of boxes on them, whether it was games, DVDs, Blu-rays. I had everything all categorized. By the way, I'm gonna answer something in the chat for you guys. I see a lot of people asking about it and talking about it. I could tell you with absolute certainty that you are getting a Splinter Cell, and it's not a remaster. So I can tell you that with absolute certainty. Ask me nothing else, because I'm not going to tell you. Carry on, Colt. You knew that. Come on, I told you, didn't I?
No, I just think it's great. I just think it's great you said that here. Give Mag a thumbs up, man. We appreciate Mag. Mag does the heavy lifting. He really does.
No, I don't. I just know people. I work for. Never mind. I'm just gonna shut up. I was just like, I do.
Were we moving on? Is that what it was?
Yeah. No, move on. We're not gonna talk about my relationship with Ubisoft. Carry on, kind sir.
Who now? Assassin. Anyway, thank you for that chat. I appreciate it. I don't miss it. I used to love it. Now I don't miss it. We're gonna get there someday with consoles. Maybe. Who knows? It'll be a while. Highlander001 with the $2 says, changing. Yeah, talk about changing movies. He says, Han shot first. Oh, that was such a ridiculous thing they did.
You see, there you go. You change the movie, and what ends up happening, they make it seem like Greedo shot first. Han was a smuggler and a scoundrel. He was a nerf herder.
It was his opening like 2 minutes of the movie, right? It's the first time you see him. They're setting up what kind of guy he is.
Exactly. And you know what? Princess Leia called him a nerf herder, okay? And if anybody knows what a nerf herder is, well, nobody knows what a nerf herder is. But you know what? He was a scoundrel.
Yeah.
He was a scoundrel and a pirate. You don't think he shot first? Of course he shot first. And by the way, I literally just said, guys, don't ask me any questions.
Are they hitting you up?
Oh, like 25 questions. Is it a remake? Is it a remaster? They mastered it. I'm like,
hey,
guys,
he already said you can rewind it to the you rewind it back 8 seconds or 8 minutes and you'll get that. Silent Cypher says he has 2 supers. One of them I'm afraid because I said something dumb, but he says, I personally enjoy having some of the old copies for when edits happen. He's talking about movies like Star Wars 4 through 6, and he means 4.
Yep.
4. Oh yeah, New Hope through Jedi. Gosh, I have to think about that. When Lucas altered them, yeah, I know. Like my unadulterated copies, he said. I like those. I was going to say when we were talking about that, like there are people who still have the VHS copy of the original trilogy of Star Wars, and like I would love to sit and watch those. I think there was I'm not going to talk about Star Wars and DVDs, but you used to be able to get a bundle that had both versions on each side of the disc. Spartan.
Yes.
Wait, here's Silent Cyber says, you're flaccid on this announcement, so should we refer to you as Colt Limpwood now? Everybody does.
Well, yep. Except for when the guys make those memes with Colt with the long Pinocchio nose. Colt the simp is lying again. Colt
He's having
Plywood.
breakfast with Greenberg.
Yeah.
Probably paid for his hash browns. Spartan661, thank you for the 2. He says having a disc was required for 4 Metal Gear Solid. Was required for Metal Gear Solid on the PS1. Having this, well, I mean, every game was required on the PlayStation 1. I don't know. I love it. I love that game. Red Wolf with a $2. I love it. He says, Mag and Colt, what's the weirdest noise you can make? Mag, you want to go first?
What do you mean the weirdest noise I can make? Everything I say is weird. And by the way, guys, I'm not
this
an
is my
insider.
favorite.
I work for Ubisoft Toronto sometimes. There you go. There's your answer. That's all I'm going to sell. That's all I'm going to tell you. And that's sometimes. It's not my career.
Here was Mag. Mag was walking by and saw a door cracked open. He goes,
yeah. Their office is not that far away from where I am sometimes when I'm down there. Listen, I don't make a weird noise, but I'll tell you one thing. I make a noise that really upsets everybody at work. So I might be in an office or something and someone's in the kitchen doing something because the kitchen's over the other side, and I'm still in charge of the hospitality, right? So I still watch that section of the business and whatever else. And once in a while I hear somebody drop something on the floor, and then I walk by, I just stick my head around the corner, I go, and then I go back to the office, and they get so I know.
I know.
And
you know what I'm thinking.
It wasn't. I didn't model it after him. I just did it because it sounded funny. Or else I do another one. I go. I just walk by and someone someone's peeling eggs, and the egg they're peeling the egg and it rolls off the table, and I just happen to walk by and I go. And I just keep walking, and then they pick up the egg and throw it at me, and they're like, "Come on, man!" Anyways, rest in peace to Paul Rubens.
Tell people who may have missed it in the news because I barely caught it like an hour before the show. But tell them what happened today.
Yeah. He was Paul Rubens, aka Pee Wee Herman, for anybody old enough to remember. He had a quiet, behind-the-scenes, very silent battle with cancer. He never told anybody about. Other than his family. His family knew. And he wanted to keep it out of the headlines, and of course, he passed away today. So, rest in peace to him. I loved him growing up. So, yeah. So it was. I
had a weird. I had a weird entertainment focus. Or I don't know how to explain it. I didn't enjoy his show, but I watched it a lot. And then the movie, I'm like, I couldn't stop watching it. I don't know if I'd say I love Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, but. Growing up, I saw so much of his stuff, and
he was amazing.
Meg, it's kind of hard to explain. He just made this character and went full into it. Like he never broke it, right?
Nope, it was bizarre too. And you know what though? Hey, on top of everything else, Pee Wee's Playhouse. Shout out to Lawrence Fishburne in his very first role in Hollywood, playing none other than Cowboy Curtis. So
he was an eccentric cowboy with the feathers and the bright baby blue and white or whatever, if I remember.
Yep. And it was even before he was Furious Styles in Boys in the Hood, which was his breakout role in Hollywood.
Was that where he? Was that his big role after?
That was his breakout role. That's when people like when in those days he was called Larry Fishburne, not Lawrence.
Okay.
So yeah. In those days, he was Larry Fishburne, so his breakout role was Furious Styles in Boys in the Hood. He was, of course, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s father in that movie. Fantastic role. He did a great job.
And then Matrix, and then 4 years later, or whatever, 3 years later.
I think it was 8 years later. Something like that, 99.
No, Matrix was 99. So,
And
6
Boys
years
in the Hood was earlier. So, 92,
92, yeah.
And then, of course, he was Cowboy Curtis. So, anyways. Rest in peace to Pee Wee. Yes, anyway, that's the funny noise I make. It's almost like a Pee Wee laugh, and I didn't mean to do that on purpose. It just really irritates.
It's an homage, though. It really is. Like, Paul Rubens, which I didn't know his name till probably 94, 95, when he got in a little bit of trouble with the law, but he was one of those guys that climbed his way into the show business. Like, he had this character, and he was hell-bent on being a success, and oh man, I remember he hit the TV screen like crazy, and his show was so obnoxious, but you couldn't stop watching it. And one last thing we'll say about it is he was 70 years old, and he did not look very old.
He looked like he was 23.
Yeah, I think he was like 40 when he did that show, or close to it. Wearing a really tight high water suit and dancing around, and everyone copied it, but. I don't think we ever got a video game for we probably did on the Nintendo.
Probably in the Nintendo. I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, look it up. But yeah, thanks for that little noise you make. Oh, well, my noise that I always make is or when I was in junior high, I'd go I'd do the Top Gun theme, and people are like, "Shut up!" Spartan said, you had to look on the back of the case for info for games. Yeah, I remember looking on the back saying, should I get this game?
It was like two little pictures, and you decided on a purchase based on those two little pictures, because there was no one else you could ask except for the fat, sweaty guy that worked in the store, and the guy was always a jerk anyways. He was like, "What do you care, you little rat? You can't afford to buy it."
Honestly, kid, I don't care what game you get. Honestly,
thank you, sir. There is a Pee Wee Herman game that came out on the Atari 2600. It looks like.
Oh gosh, but it's horrible.
And then there was another one. He also made an appearance, actually, funny enough, in a story mode for Minecraft.
Weird.
Yeah,
super weird.
I mean, that's all the info I got. And then, of course,
that's your video game news for Pee Wee Herman from Mag, middle-aged game guy. Hit the like and subscribe Spartan, let me tell you a real quick story. When I was young, I went to the store with my own $40 to buy a Nintendo game. And my mom was with me, and she goes, well, let's see which one you want to get. And she goes, and I grabbed Bayou Billy, which was a side-scroller beat-em-up, and I turned it over, and my mom goes, that looks like a good game. Look, it has driving, it has shooting, and it has running. And I go, ooh, good call, Mom. And I bought it, and I ended up really liking it. But it was just funny that those 3 little thumbnails on the back, they didn't call thumbnails back then, the 3 little pictures, like my mom was like selling me on the game, and I ended up liking it. The game's kind of dorky, but whatever. Mike with a Canadian $2. Meg, what's an obscure Nintendo game that you played back in the day that not everybody talks about, that you loved?
Kid Nicky.
Is that the little chubby guy that runs around in the
He was like a little ninja, and he was like a little ninja thing, and he had like it was almost like, it looked like nunchucks, but it was hard to tell. And he was like, he would just like shoot it in front of him. So anyway, there's it's so funny. We're talking about people are still asking me about Splinter Cell. Guys,
well, of course they are.
I can't tell. They announced it 18 months ago that it was coming, but I obviously know much more than that. But anyways, the point is,
bro, he looks like Goku. He looks like Goku in red.
So there you go. So Kid Nicky. Anybody remembers Kid Nicky? What a fantastic game. It's a little bit more rare. A lot of people didn't play it. I loved it. I finished it, and that's no easy feat, let me tell you. Finishing a Nintendo game start to finish that's not a Mario game are tough. So I finished that one. Great game. Anyways,
that's a nice little piece of history to know about. Mike with the Canadian $2 says, remember when everyone said, you know what, Mike, you're out of here. You're banned.
What did he say?
No, he says, remember when everyone said Arcane doesn't miss? I know, I was one of them. I said Arcane doesn't miss. Like, I didn't love Dishonored, but everybody else did, and I loved Prey to death, and Redfall just wasn't it, man. And unfortunately, they've all pretty much admitted at Arcane that they were told to throw out a games as a service title as quickly as possible because they needed the other part we heard, thanks to Dealer, from behind the scenes, was they were supposed to posture themselves to make some quick money so they could be saleable. Silent Cyber with the 5 says, remember the Flintstones vitamins that fizz like Zots? Now I feel old. I never had those.
I never had those. I only had the chalk ones. The solid ones. I'm going to look up to see if they still sell.
They were surprisingly detailed, those Flintstone vitamins. The way they were extruded or punched. The powder was, they compressed those in to a aluminium mold and make them. Spartan 661 the $5 says the Elder Scrolls Morrowind needs a complete remake. Sorry, I'm reading better now today. The base game had more things you could do with spells, enchantments than Oblivion and Skyrim combined. And Morrowind was the one that came before Oblivion, so I hear people say it's amazing. Unfortunately, Morrowind and Oblivion came out during that little 8-year period where I just really wasn't playing games, and never went back. Sasson says Virtual Studios making the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake too. Mag, Did you hear that?
Yes.
Did you know that?
Metal Gear Solid 3. They showed it at the PlayStation Showcase.
But I didn't know it was Virtual Studio, so I didn't make that connection. So are we on board with it being the studio that's making Oblivion remake. Apparently working on this Metal Gear Solid remake. So it must not be a file save as.
Well, hell, I didn't know that. Breaking news, guys. Neither one of us knew that. I didn't know that.
Shout out to Assassin for doing his homework when I should have.
That's incredible.
I guess
that's incredible.
Assassin, you're going to have to take over the show. I'm not worthy to be here. Thanks, Mag.
By the way, Flintstone. Yeah, just go ahead. I'm just gonna go play one of the games here. Listen, Flintstone vitamins are still for sale. I just checked Walmart. They got them for sale right now.
Well, they still make them. They're not gonna be 20.
Dude,
they're not gonna be 45 years old.
No, they look the same too. They haven't changed anything. So I'm gonna
We're supposed to be doing a podcast, and now I'm gonna Google that because I got to see it.
No, dude, I'm gonna go buy them. I'm gonna buy them tomorrow after work. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna go to work for a couple hours, just poke my head in, check things around. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go to Walmart and buy Flintstone vitamins.
Okay, $13 for. Oh, those are chewables.
Dude, they're not cheap. Holy.
I think you need to get the. Hold on. You need to make sure you don't get the chewables.
No, I don't want the chewables. I mean they're chewable, but I want them to be solid. I want to be the solid chewables, not gummies.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they're just chewable. Yeah, they're $13 at Walmart. This is the Ecstasy Podcast. Mag and I are talking about Flintstone vitamins because, hey, they come out the same way they went in. And you will pee green. It'll be great. 150 vitamins. Oh, there's a little disclaimer on here. Not for aging bald men. So
what?
Yeah,
I'm not balding. I'm not balding. I'm already bald. So joke's on them. Joke's on them.
Joke's on them. I'm going to eat the whole bottle, and then I'm going to tell you what color I pee.
Exactly.
I just do not love the taste of vitamins, but go for it. Yeah, have a good time, Mag. One more. Nerds and Other Legends, thank you for the 5, says, I'm hoping Microsoft buys Sega and revives Panzer Dragoon Saga, or dips into any of the dormant Sega RPGs and makes Xbox the premier JRPG console. We were supposed to talk about this 9 years ago. Where are we at? This is the big one. Phil Spencer. Oh my gosh, Phil Spencer was on stage to announce that they have finally made a partnership with Square Enix to bring games to Xbox that have been missing 99% of the time, it seems like, for the past 10 plus years. What does it say here? It says, we want to welcome the Xbox community as well, starting with today's announcement. Whenever possible, this is 2 days ago, we are planning to bring our games to Xbox players to enjoy. And Mag, what does he mean when he says, when the CEO was Square, says, we want to bring our games whenever possible to Xbox? What's that caveat there?
Well, that means that they have to still honor whatever timed exclusivity they have with PlayStation. So, you know what I mean? There's nothing they can do about that for now. However, this is a good move in the right direction. They released a bunch of Final Fantasy games on Game Pass a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Not all of them.
I think
2019, was it 2019? They released
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
we're good at years.
Yeah, it was around 2019. So, but anyway, here's the thing: is that, to me, like I said, for the people that are into Final Fantasy 14, God bless, man. Great. Have a great time. I'm not into it. I'm not into the gameplay. It's just not my thing. But that's fine. I will get more excited when I start seeing the Final Fantasy 7 Remake show up on Game Pass. I want to see Final Fantasy 16 show up on the Xbox. That's when I'm going to start paying attention. Because as of for now, like I said,
that's
not
like
taking
4 or 5 years away.
I'm just saying, for the people that enjoy it, then that's great, and I think I'll be a little bit happy when I see like the premiere. I understand the Final Fantasy 14 is a pretty major game; it's played all over the world. But I'm saying like their actual their number titles of the story mode games, like I said, Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Final Fantasy 16. When you see those start coming in there, I think that they're going to give Xbox the proper. You know what I mean? The respect they deserve there. As it stands right now, Sony's got them by the they got them.
By the Flintstone vitamins.
Yeah, they got to buy the Flintstone vitamins, so there's nothing they could do about it. So until that point, but we don't know how long that's going to be. However, we've had this discussion before. We're like, I'll wait for Final Fantasy 7 Remake. It's coming to Xbox a year from now. I think they have a year exclusivity. It's been how many years now?
Well, they have to finish the trilogy of like the whole thing, and so it's going to be like 2025 or 2026 by the time that thing is ready to drop on Xbox. But Final Fantasy 16 could actually come in to Xbox if this is true. There's a whole mess that goes along with this because thanks to Back and Pat and that Final Fantasy has not been exclusive to PlayStation for the most part, but there have been lots of games or Final Fantasy spin-offs or the weird numbers like that they use for the spin-offs or whatever they are. I don't know. I don't care. I don't like Final Fantasy, so I'm not very knowledgeable about it. But the point was, as I get to my point 7 years later, there are a ton of Final Fantasy games playable on Xbox consoles right now because of the multiplats and the Back and Pat. So for Final Fantasy to miss Xbox is a pretty big deal, kind of a big miss that they do, Mag. So it was announced a couple days ago that Final Fantasy 14, the really popular MMO, is finally coming to Xbox, and the game is 10 years old and people are still playing it. Mag, did you see Ginger Prime, a guy who's got almost 70,000 subscribers on YouTube?
Yeah,
he's a streamer. Did you see him? Can you recount, since I was going to put the video on, but can you recount what you saw when he reacted to Phil Spencer making his reveal on the Square stage?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people. A lot of people went after him, and they were like, and someone actually said something like, "Leave him alone. He's just actually just excited or whatever." That's
So what
fine.
did he do? Like,
And,
tell us what he did first, and then
oh, well,
then
I mean,
run with
are you
it.
talking about like his reaction? Because the
Yeah,
only thing I
yeah.
saw was
Yeah,
the,
for
yeah,
people
the
who haven't
reaction
seen it.
video.
We're
And he
relying
went
on you.
absolutely, he went absolutely wild. I mean, he was in tears, the whole thing. He was freaking out. He was super excited. Hey, man, and like I said, good on him. I mean, you're happy about it, and you're happy about the Xbox community getting the game and everything else. Wonderful. I'm happy for you. I said, for me, doesn't really do anything for me. I wouldn't, I was just like, okay, that's really good. I was happy that other people are happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, does that make any
Yes.
sense? So, like,
Exactly.
it didn't move the needle for me because I'm not into those style of games. And I'm like, I'm not really into that. I said, but I'm happy if everybody else is excited. That's good for you. I would never take away someone else's excitement or happiness, and and try to just.
That's all
I can't
people
even
do.
say.
That's
I can't
all
even
people
say,
do these days,
well,
Mag.
no, you know what? It's because the online. Here's the thing. Mike Tyson said it best. The reason why people are such fill in the blanks online is because they're usually not used to getting punched in the face,
Bro.
right?
Yeah.
And that's
Wait, I gotta
and
say, you there's two phrases used so much. However, and here's the thing. I love it.
Right. Wait, Mike Tyson said that. He goes, "That's why people are such smart asses online is because they're used to not getting punched in the face for what they say. Because
Like
if you
if
got
you
punched
didn't
in
have
the face,
to duck out of the way of a flying fist,
you wouldn't
like
be
going
saying
toward
half
your
the
nose,
stuff.
right? You wouldn't say this stuff.
Right. So let people be excited and happy. Let them be happy. Let them have a good time. Let them celebrate in the streets. Let them cry on YouTube. Let them do whatever the hell they want. If you're happy, God bless, man. Go have a great time and go. You know what I mean? And enjoy.
Was it too
Because at
much
the end of
though,
the
Mag?
day-
Like
Nah,
he was
well,
really excited and he was moved to
no,
tears.
it's fine. I've seen people cry when they saw Superman trailers. Like like when the Man of Steel trailer come out.
Did you
people
cry when you
literally
saw
dro-
when you saw that door open and saw Splinter Cell being worked on?
So, anyways, I saw people drop on the floor and break down in tears when
Yeah.
the Man of Steel trailer came out in 2012. Right? That was at San Diego Comic-Con. And what's the difference? What's the difference?
Well-
You know what I mean? Like when I bought this Pac-Man machine, I actually got a little bit misty-eyed because I said to myself when I was 7 years old, I'm not kidding. When I first posted the video of me getting the cabinet, I said when I was 7 years old, I said this is my favorite game in the whole world, and I said one day when I'm old enough and I'm big enough, I want to buy one for myself. And 41 years later, when I put it over there and I turned it on for the first time, I got teared up because
Oh,
it was
bro,
it was a 41-year journey of a little boy getting 25 cents from his mom to go play this game, and I loved it so much. I said, when I'm bigger and older, whatever, I'm going to buy one for myself, and I did. And it took 41 years to do it, and I did it. And so, why would it be any different if this guy is that emotionally invested in that game? Go ahead, cry, enjoy it. Kevin Smith in Hollywood. The guy sees trailers and movies all the time. The guy's crying. The guy breaks down all the time because he's emotionally invested in these characters, in these movies, and whatever. He's all in on it, man. So you know what? Just do it. And I think people should just leave him alone. Let him enjoy himself.
They're being really ridiculous. It's partially because they think he's crying because he's seen Phil Spencer, which if you're not paying attention, if you think he's crying because he saw Phil Spencer on stage, like that's ridiculous. Ginger Prime was crying because Destin Legary has known this Ginger Prime guy on YouTube for a long time, and they've worked together. And he said the people who are making fun of him don't understand that for over 10 years, he has been lobbying and waiting and hoping and asking and working to get Square Enix back on the Xbox platform instead of side-skirting around and missing it, which has been a problem, especially the past 4 or 5 years. Meg, I feel like I asked you this. You didn't cry at your wedding, though.
Yeah, I did.
You did? Okay. Now, there was a controversy about men who cry at their wedding or week. I bawled like a baby. I heard someone say, one of my friends said, I didn't cry. I was super happy. I'm like,
Yeah, but sometimes happiness turns into tears. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's
Yeah.
tears of joy, not tears of sorrow. Like I didn't see my wife for the first time. I didn't see my wife for the first time in a white dress and looking at me. I go, oh God, this is horrible.
I'll never be able to play video games again.
Yeah. Well,
and back then, I thought I'd have a lot more hair, but, it's all right.
Hey, joke's on everybody. My wife's a hardcore gamer. So, anyways, the thing is, tears of joy, buddy. When I saw it for the first time, I tried to hold it together too, man. I was up there. My best friend was there. He was my best man. My brother was in the wedding party, and we're standing up there, and I'm like this. And then all of a sudden, she comes out, the music starts playing, the whole night. That's it. I became a blubbering mess after that. And I was just like, forget it, man. I can't do this. So, hey, whether it's your wedding or whether it's Final Fantasy 14, if it makes you cry in a good way, go ahead. I'm not going to fault anybody for doing that. And, usually the people that kind of complain about that, they're the kind of people that cry when they get kicked in the shin. So, just leave people alone. They all act tough. They all act tough until they get chin checked by an actual human being. Then you see how tough they actually are.
I try to be a tough grown man, and I was working out in the yard. I was drilling through 4x4s, just pounding rebar into the ground and putting out a level and doing all this hard work. And I went to climb over the dog fence, and I caught my ankle on the top of the dog fence and just racked the shin of my ankle bone and scraped the flesh off my leg. And I'm like, it hurts so bad. Toughen up. So,
you know when I say I'm actually real quiet. You know when I say I'm real quiet in public or whatever else. Yes, I am, and I usually am. But yeah, when things happen, when sometimes you have to act, though, I do act. And sometimes it's not pretty, but hey, it is what it is. But there's a lot of these guys who are complaining about this guy crying and joking around and making fun of him and this and that and the other. Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
You want to know the icing on the cake, Mag?
Bunch of online bullies.
Yeah, totally. And here's the best part. He's also a stand-up comedian. He goes to clubs and actually performs as a stand-up comedian. He said, guess what I'm talking about tonight? So he's going to go in front of an audience of 150 people and make fun of all of the PlayStation guys that gave him a hard time for being super excited about a video game franchise and one of his favorite studios coming to a platform that he enjoys. And I can't wait to see the replay on that. Follow him. He's on YouTube, and he's also on Twitter under the name Ginger Prime. He's got a red beard. I don't know where the Ginger name comes from, but he looks like a really super nice guy. And I told him, hey, enjoy it. These guys are idiots. They're losers. Enjoy it. Exactly. We got Yodani Quezada, who's thank you, Yodani, for being the show moderator for the past 100 and some episodes. He says, pick me up some rich chocolatey Ovaltine too. I don't know why he said that, but I drank that a few times when I was younger.
Because we were talking about the Flintstone vitamin thing.
Oh, yeah. Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. Silent Cypher with the $5 super says, fun fact, Colt and Mag, did you know that Marty O'Donnell... Oh, I did know this, yes. Marty O'Donnell is the composer for the Halo series for Bungie and also the first Destiny. He did the music for the Flintstone vitamins. How does it go? Hold on.
Really?
Yes. It was in the documentary when he talked after ODST came out. They did like a little mini interview documentary about his composing work, and he showed how he wrote the jazz tune for ODST. And he said, I also did the Flintstone Vitamins. And for some reason, I cannot remember how the Flintstone Vitamins theme song goes.
Oh God, gosh. I don't know. I'd have to go check it out on YouTube later.
Yeah. But yes, thank you, Silent Cypher. Marty is amazing. Virus Phantom, Virus X Phantom, thank you so much for the $10 super. He says, do you think Microsoft could add FOV to the old COD games? I don't think Microsoft or Xbox is going to mess with the old COD games.
No. On PC, I think you could do that, but not on the console.
Yeah, it's just not. They would have to patch and change all the code, and Microsoft does not do that. And I don't think Activision is going to give a crap. The games look great as is. They're really good, and they're at the top of the sales list right now. The 4 of the old legacy Call of Duties are at the top of the most paid for games on Xbox. I was going to say most sold. I do know how to talk. Dex with a $2 says, you never forget your first. I don't know if he's talking about your first love or your first game
or your first Flintstone vitamin, but you never forget. Meg, which one do you think he's talking about?
Well, I know what he's talking about, but I don't think it's either of those. Carry on.
He was talking about Splinter Cell. One more
Obviously.
angry hippie says,
Obviously.
Meg, we're all over the board today, and I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here. We really appreciate it. Angry hippie with the $5 says, I cried for 45 minutes when Marcus screamed, "Dom!" in Gears 3. So let me ask, Meg, dig deep. Have you cried in a video game?
Yes.
Which one?
Last of Us 1, Last of Us 2.
What part made you cry in Last of Us 2?
I love those games so much. I don't care what anybody says. I love them. It's just the story. It's just so gut-wrenching. Like, just there's so many parts of it that are just like, I don't know, man. I don't want to get into like all the details, but I mean, that was pretty amazing. And another one, which actually is going to make some people laugh. There were a couple of moments where I got a little bit excited there in Days Gone. When never mind, I can't say the reason why, just in case somebody ever wants to go back to it. I didn't cry for the Gears of War thing because I'm like, they're soldiers, they're gonna die. It just happens. You know?
I didn't either.
Like it's just
I know what you're talking about with Days Gone. It just there was that tension
there's a
there.
moment.
Yeah,
there's a moment, and it's about halfway through the game. And there's a reconnection and stuff, and I got a little bit emotional there. So yeah, there was that, and then let me see. Is there anything on the Xbox side that made me like tear up? Like a lot of those games I played on there were all like like your Halos and of course I played all the Call of Duties, things like that, Gears. I didn't find anything in there that made me cry. They wowed me, but didn't make me cry.
Yeah,
I think the only ones that made me cry there would be Last of Us. Oh. Crud! There was another one. I'll remember it in a minute.
Meg's
it's on the tip of my tongue, but I'll forget.
I got a couple.
Softie,
Silent Cipher gives me just by writing the lyrics. I immediately got the tune. It's embarrassing to sing it, but it's a little kids commercial song. But it goes, "We are Flintstone kids." Oh, it's really high. 10 million strong and growing. So he played it on the piano, and I'm sorry I can't vocalize that song and make it sound amazing, but that's how it went. And he played he's like, it's such a simple, like 4 or 5 note tune. And he played on the piano and sang it kind of like I did, like a dork. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he wrote that. And then he turned around and did. So yeah, thank you, Silent Cipher. Let me say really quick about, there's 2 games that I cried at. The one I've said a couple times was Mass Effect Trilogy Legendary Edition.
Yep.
I don't think I had any like really sad moments when I first played it, but playing it again after all those years of knowing the characters, when you go visit in the hospital, Mass Effect 3, when you go visit, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. When Colteastwood, his son, does the prayer, I can't even think of it, but he does this prayer for a dying character, and I cried pretty hard. And if my wife was listening to this, she'd be mad at me because I never cry when we watch movies. Actually, I do, but I hide it. I'll like punch myself. Stop! Don't you cry? But the weird one that I cried at was in the Red Dead Redemption one, in the Undead Nightmare.
Damn it!
So I was really emotional at the end with John Marston, and kind of takes the reins over to his son. And I was like, okay, the first time I played it, but the second time I played the game, when I took over as Jack Marston, it really had an impact on me. So when I went and played the Undead Nightmare, there's an opening scene where John Marston comes in from the rain and sits down on the couch, and he yells at his wife like, "Woman, where's dinner?" And he sits down, and his son, who's like my son's age now, he's like 12. He's like, "Dad, I'm reading this book. And in the book, there's these monsters and the heroes trying to," and as he's talking, his son's voice fades away, and John Marston's just kind of looking off in the distance, like thinking about how he's finally reunited with his family. And as a father, it got me so hard. And then, 5 seconds later, Uncle comes in, ravaged like a zombie. But those moments are important. Please put them in the chat. We're wrapping up the show. You got one more?
One more. And I'm not going to go into details as to why. The Walking Dead Season 1.
Oh, people love that one. I never played it.
The Telltale game, Walking Dead Season 1 was phenomenal. And man, there are some like pretty hard hitting stuff going on in that game. Especially if you're like by yourself, you're playing, you're really invested in the story, and then like stuff happens, and you're just like, oh my god, like it's hard to hold it together. Anyways, carry on.
Yeah. Well, we got a super here that's got one more sad crying moment from Thried Wolf, the $20 big orange super chat. He says, I cried multiple times in Final Fantasy 16. Not many other games. Maybe Last of Us is another one he says that he cried at.
Last of Us, man.
You'll have to let us know in the chat. Red Reform says Colt cried when he first turned on the Series X. No. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I got a little teary-eyed with Grounded as well, like just because of the whole experience with my kids, and there's like these story beats in there that are, yeah. Thank you so much, Thried Wolf, for that. I really appreciate it. Thried Wolf, sorry. We appreciate it. It's been a long show, Mag. We're gonna get out of here. It's like 11 o'clock at night for Mag over there in Canada land, and I think we had a good time, Mag. You have any plans? What's the game you're going to be playing this week when you're not working?
I'm going to be. I'm gonna try and finish Alan Wake this week, so I can get that out of the system. The Callisto Protocol DLC should probably take me another hour or two. It's not a very long DLC, so I'm gonna blow through that, and then properly gonna get back into Dying Light 2 and Dead Island 2. I'm gonna go all zombie for the rest of the summer. When I'm done those two games, I'm going to be, then I think I got only one more on the PlayStation side. I'm going to go get the Platinum on PlayStation for Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, and then directly into Starfield. So that's the plan. So I gotta blow through these games in the next month. Not blow through them, but I gotta get through them. I gotta get the 100% completions and of course the platinum on that one game. And then and then I'll be playing Starfield. So that's the plan.
That's a nice lineup, man.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be busy. I'm gonna be a busy cat outside of work, obviously. But I'm also gonna be on vacation a lot, so I'm not gonna be home for a whole like weeks at a time, right? So it's going to be a thing. So I'm going to be bringing some consoles with me, but we'll see how that goes. But you got a few more super chats before we get out of here.
I see him as well. Mag, you're such a great co-host, man. I really love doing the show with you, and appreciate people being here while we talk about Flintstone vitamins and you yelling at everybody at work and no. And sneaking into Ubisoft Studios. All that stuff. I really appreciate it. Let me read the supers here. We got one from Boner Jams, my man from Under the Bus podcast. He says, Evening Colts. He always changes my name every week. Evening Colt Southwestwood and the Icon Mag. Great show as always, you boys. Pumped for Mortal Kombat 1. We never talk about it, but it looks incredible. And he said, and Miss Pac-Man, Godspeed.
Yeah,
is your cabinet just Pac-Man or is it both?
No, it's got I got other games on there.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So does it have Miss Pac-Man on it?
Well, no, that's an actual. Yeah, it's an actual.
Okay.
It's, that's the thing. And then
because isn't Miss Pac-Man the superior Pac-Man game?
It is the superior Pac-Man game. It's the better. It's got better controls. It's faster paced. It's it has much more responsive.
And it's the bow.
The original. And of course, you got the bow.
If it was digital, would they take the bow off at this day and age? Don't even get into it. That's toxic. Silent Cypher with the $10. I freaking love video games, man. Before I read Silent Cypher's out, because I was going to say what I'm playing. If any of you want to play Fallout 76, like I know I show footage for about 10 minutes, but if any of it looks remotely fun and you love Fallout 4, jump on the game. It runs at native 4K 60 now. It's fantastic. It feels great, and I think you'll really like it. And please, if you do, hit me up, send me a team invite. We'll run around and kill naked mole rat people and stuff. It'll be great. There's so many creatures. It does way more than Fallout 4. All right, here's Silent Cypher. He says, thank you so much for the 10, Silent. He says, I lost my first cat due to a neighbor. Oh, my gosh. He says, I lost my first cat due to a neighbor rat poisoning him. When did I lose him? Amidst finishing Metal Gear Solid 2. During the awesome music, I still tear up when I hear Metal Gear Solid music to this day.
That's
great
rough,
show,
dude.
gents. Oh, gosh.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so sorry, man. Like, well, I've learned pets are so important in your life. Like, they're right up there with video games. No, but they are really important, man. Sorry to hear that, bro. We've had a great show. Thank you so much for being here. We're gonna get out and we're gonna enjoy the rest of our day. I'll see you guys soon. We'll have content up. Go check out Mag's Twitter. It's linked in the description. Check out Pushing Polygons. He's the resident sponsor of the channel. Check out Mag's video he posted about the Square Enix deal. It's hilarious.
It'll be new videos.
Yeah, it'll be early on in his timeline if you go check it out. I freaking laughed. I cut a real small portion and shared it out and then shared out the full thing. So we appreciate you, Mag. The wig.
Don't worry, more's coming in the fall because things are going to get hot. So, when this dead period of August gets past us, and then September things start ramping up again. Oh boy, that content is going to be coming fast and furious. So be ready for it.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys' support. Have a good time with your games this week, and thanks for checking out the show. We'll be out of here. We'll be here next week. Some of us will be here. We'll figure it out. But have a good night. See you, Meg.
Good night.